Excuse me. Good evening. I'll call to order this March 25th, 2025 Fairfield Plan and Zoning Commission meeting to order. I'm going to take a few things out of order, starting with old business, because I think in talking to a few people, we may not be ready for items. Instead of reading it all, start with 3A and 3B. I've reached out to a few people. I'm not ready to discuss this matter yet. I need a little extra time to review some of the old meetings and such. So I think a few people have said the same thing. So can I have a motion to table, please? So moved by Commissioner Porcillo, second by Commissioner Harrison. I think the thought should be maybe, several weeks now. This will next be on the agenda in 2 weeks, so everyone, and myself included, as I'm making the somewhat surprised, we can try and plan to discuss it. We may not vote on it, but be in a position to discuss at the very least, if not vote in 2 weeks, makes sense. But that's subject to how we feel at that time. Anything further?
No.
Further, anyone? Commissioner
Yeah, I
Harrison?
would echo you. We've had a lot going on. I'm actually rewatching some of the hearings still. A complicated matter, and I'd like to make sure that we're rendering the right decision with all the information. So I'm glad that we can table this.
Yeah.
Keeping, Mr. Chair, that would extend to item C as well.
Oh, it does, yeah, so I'm sorry, A, B, and C then is the motion to table, please.
Yes.
So moved, so seconded, if that's okay. Again, let's plan on having substantive discussions in 2 weeks. That's been a long time if we can. Again, subject to how we are at the time, but. When you vote on the item. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Have everybody, I'm sorry, yes, everybody passes unanimously, excuse me.
Just for the benefit of the audience, could you explain the steps and process, because I know a lot of people are here for that matter.
As far as,
Sequence of the timing.
so. This will come up at our, not next week, but the week after meeting. Excuse me, April 8th. So at that point, again, we'll have an opportunity to discuss the matter, potentially vote on it again, depending on how we are. The matter deadline for us is April 24th. I have 3 items, it looks like. So April 8th is our next regularly scheduled meeting. Similarly for 3D and E, this is the Fairfield Circle Inn. We just had this, finished the hearing last week. I am not in a position to discuss it or render a vote. I kind of hoping and expecting the same from everybody else. So if that's the case, can I have a motion to table, please? So moved by Commissioner Harrison, second by Commissioner Porcillo. Our time to vote on this is May 22nd. So obviously the one before may have some priority as far as timelines. This again will be up for discussion potentially April 8th. That's going to be up to the commission again, how we want to feel at that point. So anything further? Or can we vote? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you. So I just wanted to get the old business out of the way in case anybody is sitting there waiting for us. We'll go back to, before we get to going back to the beginning, B1 and A, I'd like to take some time, personal privilege for not just me and for the commission though, to recognize Jim Went, our longstanding director, whose last meeting is tonight. And will be well-earned retirement by the end of the week, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
Jim, it's been a pleasure working with you. You've been a pillar of this community and this department. Your insight, your leadership, your knowledge, second to none. Sorry to see you leave, but like any good leader, you've left us with a good mentee that's been working well with us throughout the time. So, you've been as valuable as I can see in Fairfield. Sorry to see you leave, but I know it's on to greener pastures. Without a doubt. So, you've been great. I've had a pleasure working with you for a long time. Your knowledge and insight has been, I couldn't be doing this without you. So I wanted to say thank you for all your hard work.
I appreciate that.
I'll open it up. Does anybody else like to say anything? Commissioner Corsillo?
Thank you. Yeah, Jim, I mean, 38 years is incredible. It's not lost to me that someone with who's a certified planner and has a master's in urban planning could have cashed in, and there are lots of places in the private sector where you could have gone and taken that expertise, and instead you chose to dedicate almost 4 decades to the town. So, you're a true public servant. I think the often unheralded professional civil servants are really what make communities like ours function. And you have really, over 38 years, shaped so much of what makes Fairfield the great place it is. You've been a tremendous partner to this commission, to me. I've learned a lot from, your expertise. I've always been really impressed by not only that expertise, but your patience with us. Have left us with a really capable in the really capable hands of Emmeline, which I think is as much a testament to your time here as anything else. And so I just congratulate you on your retirement. I hope you enjoy every minute of it. And thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you so much.
Harrison?
2 words, well earned, I would say. Thank you for everything. I think, Commissioner Corsillo and the chairman said it best, but I've learned a lot from you. You have a lot of patience, you're humble, and you shaped this town in a profound way. And thank you for your service and best wishes. And we hope to see you around. This is the next chapter.
Steve? Mr. Levy?
Jim, it's just been such a pleasure to work with you for the last 7 years. I've always been so impressed with your expertise, your knowledge, everything right at your fingertips. Some of us have to hit Westlaw and hit the books, but you always seem to have the answers right there. And if you need any lessons in how to enjoy retirement, just give me a call.
You're taking notes, Steve.
I'll teach you how to snowboard. How's that? Thank you.
Kathy?
I just want to say thank you, Jim. Your institutional knowledge and ability to, like, in 1 second say, no, you can't do that because of these 5 criteria. That's something, it's just, it encompasses more than any of us could ever probably know. You know more about the regulations and probably the law than a lot of the lawyers on the commission. So I appreciate all of that. Appreciate that. We might not agree on everything, but that's okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate your knowledge. Yeah.
Jim, we're absolutely going to miss you. I echo everyone's comments. You are a walking encyclopedia for all of the planning. It's a one-stop shop in Fairfield. We're lucky. We get asked a question, you want to say, I get it right back to you. I have it. So we're definitely going to miss that institutional knowledge. And we're going to miss the historical background that you have too. When in a town like Fairfield, when you have one property turn over 2 or 3 times, you always lead up. You may remember this as Fairmart, or something pulled way back. So I'll certainly miss that. And I'm sure this will continue, but the developers that I know who come into planning and zoning to the town hall always have great things to say about you and the staff and how well they're treated and how professional they are. In fact, if I ever get a call, I always say, don't be afraid to go in and ask. And I think that's a testament to you. And we will certainly miss you and miss your leadership. So enjoy your retirement. Keep your head down, left arm straight. Thanks again, Jim.
Jeff?
Jim, you're an exceptional public servant, which is, in this day and age, is saying it's really an exceptional contribution that you've made over your career to important matters that I know we as volunteers really cherish. And your expertise, your intelligence, your commitment, your patience, because your job requires a lot of patience. It's led to exceptional outcomes, and You've taught us all something new every week. We've learned something every week, and it's because you dive deep on issues and you care. And that is, I don't think there's anything that's more important than the combination of your caring for the public service and the application of your diligence and intelligence for the community. So thank you very much.
If I may,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I appreciate those remarks very much. It means a great deal to me. I've worked with over 80 commissioners over that time, and I've learned a lot from you folks as well. I've walked a few miles in your moccasins as a land use board member in my town, so I know the commitment that you all make of your time to make this town a better place. So it's very much a two-way street, but I want to thank you. I do very much appreciate those comments.
Congratulations again. So more mundane matters, but meeting minutes, March 4th, March 7th, March 11th, March 17th, March 18th. May I have a motion for these, to accept these minutes? Commissioner Harrison,
I'll make a motion to accept these, the 4th, 7th, 11th, 17th, and 18th.
second from Commissioner Corsillo. Note that there's, if not one, certain maybe two executive sessions in there that no motions were taken, no decisions were made. I have a motion. If there's no discussion, can we vote on the items? All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Passes unanimously. Next item is our closed executive session, discussion of pending litigation, 2190 Bush Road with town attorney. To the public, I'm sorry, but we have a matter we have to discuss with the attorney. So the executive session will go into another room. May I have a motion to go into closed executive session with Mr. Wentz, Ms. Harrigan, and our town attorney, Mr. Pierce.
I'll make a motion.
So Commissioner Harrison, second Commissioner Corsillo.
Oh, all those in favor?
I'm sorry, I didn't. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Passes unanimously.
Stood up.
No, I know, yeah. I'm trying to keep things moving. We're back on the record. Executive session is ended. No decisions were made, no motions were taken. After discussing the matter with town attorney and the commission, I'd like to have a motion, please, to accept the second alternative to the stipulated judgment following changes, removing the gazebo, moving the walkway to moving the walkway to a location to be determined by the conservation director with materials and in a manner as determined by the conservation director. Having native plantings done at the direction and determination of the conservation director. I think that's the great. I have a motion to that. Commissioner Carcillo, for moves, for seconds. Commissioner Harrison, seconds. Commissioner Carcillo.
I think, this is an application I voted against initially. But I think our attorney and chair, have done a great job negotiating, concessions that make this a better project for the town, including the potential for additional, public land, and improvements to that space. So, I support authorizing our attorney to enter into the stipulated judgment.
Thank you. Commissioner Harrison.
Yeah, thank you. I, like Commissioner Crystal, I did initially vote against this, but I'm happy to see that we have reached a settlement. I want to thank the chair, Chairman Noonan, and town attorney Pierce for your leadership and being able to navigate through these waters, not to do a pun here, but relate to the Mill River. I'm very passionate about this parcel of land, and it's no secret, as part of Fair Plan many years ago, when we helped remediate the water, it was a very unusual time. We worked with the town, with DEP, and a number of other parties such as Mill River Wetlands and Harbor Management Commission to make sure it was cleaned up to a higher standard, which we would never have had unless these parties came together. So I'm glad to see that environmental protection will be a main objective here, which is really good. I'm glad to see an additional 700 feet of land. I think that this will really help our town, and it's a good compromise. So I'm happy to support it. I also want to call out John Gilly, who's in the audience. He's president of Mill River, and I appreciate his work on protecting this river too.
Commissioner Braun.
I too have been a member of Fair Plan since its founding 20 or 25 years ago. Fair Plan, along with several commissions in the town and Mill River Wetlands, intervened into the DEP hearing 10 or 12 years ago to ensure a better cleanup of the lead from the river. The river was contaminated over a period of 30 years with severe lead contamination, and the land was, and it took almost 37 more years to clean it up. So the river is close to our heart. Mill River Wetlands has been basically the main stakeholder and expert on the river. So I'm hopeful that Mill River Wetlands and Conservation, as well as Shellfish Commission, Harbor Management Commission, can collaborate on whatever ends up being done exactly on the public access easement. I'm very pleased that the applicant has offered more land for the town easement, another 7,000 square feet, which brings it almost to what I was hoping for. I was hoping for about 100 feet of distance from the water line. It might average to about 100 feet. It's a little less in parts and a little more in parts. What that does is that enables a greater expanse of natural land to absorb water if it does overflow, but also to enable some flexibility in the future if it is determined by the town that we do need more biofiltration, and that would allow it without having extra structures being built there. It would also allow a great deal more for habitat. People have seen bald eagles, osprey, even bobcats in that area. So based on the sort of biota that resides there, I think this is the best possible solution. It's a compromise. And, you know, I would have wanted more, but we got what I consider a good compromise that will help protect the river for decades to come. So I'm supporting this.
Commissioner Corsell, do you have something else?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to, I noticed that Attorney Mullinger's in the room, so I did want to note that like a number of the other commissioners who voted against the application initially, we did so while acknowledging that you know, Penske has been a valuable member of the community, and so I do appreciate the efforts of your team and the applicant to negotiate in good faith with the commission and meet the request that we put out there. So it is appreciated.
And Harrison, Randolph, Levy.
Sorry, just really quickly, I just hope that Penske, I hope you guys will be a good neighbor and be flexible and collaborative. That's really important. And again, we do appreciate you settling and glad to see this resolved at that. Thanks.
I'm voting in favor of delegating the responsibility to our capable attorneys to make the best of what I describe as a horrendous land use decision. I've been a customer of Penske for 20 years, and I am extraordinarily disappointed in the lack of consideration for this community by putting the worst appropriate use for a site that has been undergoing remediation for, I understand, 37 years. It's one of the largest tracts of land on the Metro North and in the area. It's on a critical part of the post road, and Penske's foisting of this location in a critical spot in the town is irresponsible and shows bad faith towards the citizens of this community. We need housing, we need responsible development, and because the site was partially zoned industrial, the attorneys exploited that. They exploited this. They showed us something prior to my being on the commission that was mixed use, and then they switched. We've rearranged the deck chairs in the Titanic. This is a terrible project. I've got confidence to make the best of it in our attorneys to make the best of a bad situation, but this project is a blight. It does not meet the requirements for a special exception. I voted against it. It doesn't match the considerations under 27.4, that this is for a location, type, character, and size of a building. It is not the right location for a Porsche dealership. We've got a part of town where our car dealerships are growing, thriving, and Penske's there. We also have another Porsche repair shop at the train station. We've got 2 Porsche repair locations in town. We don't need a bigger Porsche repair. We need mixed-use housing, and Penske has exploited this. This is the park is a perfunctory amenity. It does not, it's going to be used by a small group of people. The site improvements will improve the water quality, but I am holding my nose and I'm regretful to see this use. And it is Penske is being entirely irresponsible for this community.
Levy?
Well, as the record will reflect, I did vote in favor of this application. Would I have preferred perhaps to have a mixed-use residential commercial here? Of course, because we need housing. But at the same time, this parcel is zoned as industrial, and there are many other uses that could have come in here, which equally would have met the requirements of our zoning regulations and the zoning map, which would not have been nearly as acceptable and appropriate as what Penske proposes. So, I mean, on balance, it is consistent with our zoning regulations, and the resolution followed a mediation. And personally, I'm very pleased that the applicant, our chairman, was active in that, and our town attorney, with the assistance of Judge Pavaditer, were able to reach an agreement where an additional 7,900 square feet were added to the easement area to make it, frankly, much more visually attractive and site, and also it expands the area suitable for natural growth and appropriate environmental concerns, and basically to meet the environmental needs of this parcel. I mean, I've been in town since 1980 for over 45 years. First, I looked at a crumbling Exide. Then for years, we saw various remediation and work on the Mill River in that area. And I'm looking forward to this area being developed, so that we'll have something that, to my mind, is a lot more attractive than what we're looking at right now. Thank you.
I'll just I'll end with comments. I think this is a very equitable decision and compromise. I too voted against the motion to denial at the time, so was in favor of the project. I think the decision that we made initially was legally untenable. We would have easily lost in court. I'm glad that my commission members acknowledged that and leading us down this path to, I think is, as I said, a very equitable decision. We don't get to sit here as tyrants to determine what goes where. Property owners have rights to bring applications that they want within our zoning regulations, and they did so in this case. A mostly industrial use zoned area, which could have gone a lot of different ways. And while previously there was a mixed use pre-application design given to us, and then eventually this Penske plan came forward. You can't help but note the deafening silence from the neighbors, which I took as a massive approval for that area. Should a mixed use housing component commercial gone there, I have a feeling, having been here for a while, that the neighbors would have been not pleased with that in the slightest. So we're using, is it the highest and best use for the town as far as revenue? No, but I think Attorney Willinger or somebody said it's probably the best use for the area for all the stakeholders involved. So I commend the commission for their due diligence in this. Attorney Pierce, thank you for your help. Attorney Willinger, please thank your clients for their good faith. As I said, I think we have a very equitable decision and certainly a legally tenable decision. So with that, we'll put this to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. All passes unanimously. So, thank you for the discussion. Thank you. All right. We're moving on to section 2. I will call them en masse. And actually, I'm not even gonna, if, just considering the time, I'm just gonna call items 2A through 2E. These are recommendations for public hearing. As I said for last time with 105 Byroe Street, I will be talking to Attorney Pierce about whether I need to recuse myself on that. I don't know that yet, but as this is a ministerial item, I'm gonna stay in just for now. Unless there's an objection from anybody on this commission. Let's can I get a motion to move, well, anything to say specifically about the items, Mr. Went?
Let's just say questions.
Let's get a motion then. Can I have a motion to recommend items 2A through 2E to public hearing? Celio, so moves. The seconds. Anything further?
Required.
Public hearings are required. Public hearings are required. Commissioner Harrison.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, I would like to see if we could get some kind of, or I'm not sure if this will become a reality, but just to have the option available to the commission if we want to do any site visits or walking visits on any of these. I'd like to make sure that that's available to us.
I would say reach out to staff. That will be our intermediary to the developer.
If anybody wants to go to any particular property, you can reach out to us and we can make that happen.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Braun.
By us, I mean Evelyn.
I knew you.
You'll be available. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I can make tours anytime you like.
Interrupt your golf game with the sidewalk.
Go ahead.
Is number A zoning regulation amendment for Black Rock Affordable District, is that part of 2021, 4221? Are they the same thing? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And at what point can we request that we get our independent experts to assist us on some of these 30Gs? We never know if there will be another expert, like, I feel like we should.
We need regulations for that, so
No, not if we pay ours, not if we get the money from the town. It's
I don't
only if
think we have
charge
that.
the Applicant.
no, I understand that, but I mean, I think even to authorize us in order to do it, but we don't have the funds for that right now.
Do we know, can we ask first selectman if we got 3 of them coming up in sort of an environmentally sensitive area that seems to be surrounded, with woods and.
Yeah, why don't we talk about that offline then? That might be,
Okay,
I'm not sure. I would think.
Call me tomorrow. I can
okay,
fill
thank you.
you in on what's happening.
Okay,
Okay. We put this to a vote. We move all items 2A through 2E to public hearing. Please say aye or raise your hand. Passes unanimously. All right, we went through old business. We are now on to our public hearing. 4480 Black Rock Turnpike zoning compliance application of 4480 Black Rock LLC into a 96 unit residential development pursuant to section 830G of the Connecticut statutes in a AAA zone. It's not bad, 723.
Stack.
Alistair, is that yours?
Sorry?
Is this yours?
Yes.
According to the
operation.
Fair enough, no, it's fine. These have all been submitted previously in the record.
Yes, yeah, they were submitted yesterday.
Right.
I was there, you both our slides, please. Thank you. So while Ms. Hagan's doing that, my name is Andrew Moran. I'm an attorney with Hinckley Allen, accompanied by my colleague Tim Hollister over there. Behind me tonight in our development team is our civil engineer, Avon Bauer, who is engineering in Fairfield. Handling traffic is Stephen Chipola, RSD in Hanover and New Haven. Architect Phil Cerrone with Will Capel, out of Fairfield as well. Matt Pop is our landscape architect. He's with Environmental Land Solutions LLC. And finally, our code and fire safety consultant, Mr. Joseph Versteeg out of Torrington, and he'll be joining us remotely tonight. Just a real quick thank you to town staff, Ms. Harrigan, and particularly Mr. Went being this his last public hearing, so it's an honor. A few notes about procedural compliance. Our public notice was published the 14th and the 21st. Our abutter notices were mailed the 13th. Our application so far is in two parts. We have the February 4th, 2025 submission. That's the, the narrative application package, our affordable housing needs memo, and civil and architectural plans. What I just handed out is the second part. Those are our supplemental materials. And I'll just run through briefly what's included in that.
Your notice dates though were March.
Excuse me?
March were your notice dates, 13th and the.
Yes, yep. So in the supplemental materials, you'll find a building and fire code compliance letter from Mr. Versteeg. The Department of Housing issued a new 2024 list, that's in there. Correspondence from the town's conservation and engineering departments. A letter from Mr. Bauer addressing our current water pollution control authority approvals. Minutes from the January 21st code enforcement meetings, annotated with our responses and comments. You also find an aerial showing the subject property and nearby uses. We included the Partnership for Strong Communities 2024 housing data profile for Fairfield and Greater Bridgeport. We have new architectural renderings. And then finally revised plans, which are primarily cosmetic in nature changes. So Ms. Harrigan, if you could look at slide 2. So the property is 4.72 acres, it's in the residence AAA district. The existing use, there's no structures. There's a driveway connecting two homes on properties that are adjacent to ours. There's an Aquarian Water Company water main in the eastern edge of the site as well. There's wetlands and a water course in the east. The wetlands run perpendicular to Black Rock Turnpike from south to north in just the eastern area. The water course flows in the wetland area from south to north into a pond you see there north of the property. And the conservation easement encumbers most of the property's eastern area. And to be clear, there's no development proposed in that area. Neighboring uses, we have the Idaho Hotel with accompanying Barcelona restaurant nearby. We have the new medical complex also called out. There's the Aquarian water tank, office building you can see off in the distance. And finally, some recreational trails and hiking at the Grace Richardson Conservation Area, also nearby. So tonight our application is for site plan approval under Connecticut General Statutes, Section 8-30G. Provides that a proposed development preserves 30% of the units for 40 years for households earning between 80% and 60% of the state or area median income. And the zoning commission can only deny it if it receives evidence that the development plan will cause a substantial public health or safety concern that clearly outweighs the need for additional lower cost units in town and the region. And that those concerns cannot be addressed by reasonable changes to the site plan. Concerns can also be addressed by approval conditions. If you could turn to the next slide, please. So just a bit about affordable housing need in Fairfield and the region. So on the new Department of Housing 2024 list, there are just shy of 22,000 housing units. 175 of those are rental assistance units. 69 are CHFA mortgages. 240 are deed restricted units. So that's a total of 3.36% overall, meeting the statutory definition of 8-30G. As a bit of context, as of 1994, 2.15% of the dwelling units counted. So in the past 30 years, the number of dwelling units has increased by a little over 7%. But the percentage of units counted on the 10% list in compliance with 830G has only risen 1.21%. Now, the 2022 8-30J plan is in our affordable housing needs memo. There's some excerpts in there, but just kind of a keynote is that according to the housing plan at page 7, 43% of the renters in Fairfield are cost burdened. Now, our initial presentation tonight, we're gonna try to keep it to less than an hour, so I request the hold questions till the end, as there's a lot to get through. The next slide, please. So a bit about the proposed residential program here. It's 96 units total, 42 one-bedroom, 30 one-bedroom with a den, 22 two-bedroom units, and 2 guest suites, which I believe Mr. Cerrone will get into later, but they're essentially, it's a tenant amenity. It's just, you know, 1 bed, 1 full bath that'll be rented through the management company for tenant guests. Of those units listed, 29 will be affordable. So it's gonna be 13 of the 1 bedrooms, 9 of the 30 1-bedroom units with the dens, and 7 of the 22 2-bedroom apartments. The range of square footage of the units for the 1 bedrooms is between 735 to 912 square feet. The range for the 1 bedroom with dens is 770 to 2 square feet. For the 2 bedrooms, the range is 1,186 to 1,192 square feet. And the guest suites are just uniform 407 square feet. Now, Schedule A of our affordability plan lists required amenities, finishes, and quality. And all units are identical, use the same type of finishes, quality. And they're dispersed. If you look at the floor plans, the affordable units are color coded. If you could please go to the next one. So the rent for households earning 80% of the area median income, or in this case, $70,260 for the 1-bedroom units is going to be 1,632. And again, the 1-bedroom units for those earning 60% of the area median income, or about 52,000. The rent for that will be just shy of $1,200. Going on to the 2-bedroom units, targeting individuals, households earning $84,312 a year. Those will be rented at just shy of 2,000. And same for the households earning 60% of the area median income, or $63,235. The target rent will be $1,431. We expect market rate rents to range for 1-bedroom approximately $2,400 to $2,800. The 1-bedrooms with the dens, $3,000 to $3,250. And finally, the 2-bedrooms ranging between $3,500 to $4,000. Just quickly about parking, which Mr. Bowell will get to later. Our parking exceeds more than 2 spaces per 2-bedroom and more than 1 space per 1-bedroom. So we have 130 total. In compliance with our fair housing market plan, we're required to market the units across the region to minorities and groups least likely to apply. This includes newspaper notices, not only in Fairfield, but in abutting municipalities in the greater planning region as a whole. So a bit about why this particular property is an appropriate location for multifamily. As you've seen in the map previously, it's proximate to the restaurant, the Hi-Ho Hotel, the medical complex. It's proximate to the Merritt Parkway, providing transportation convenience. It's a relatively underutilized parcel. There's still there's the driveway there, but nothing really else. And Ms. Arian, you could go to slide 7, please. this is a map we made showing the distance of the proposed buildings to nearby structures. What we did was we took the setback depicted on our plans and added the data from the Fairfield GIS system about how close nearby structures are to our property line. So we use those two sets of data to come up with a guide to show you how our distance to nearby structures. So, you know, to the north, the distance to 4454 Black Rock Turnpike, approximately, 347 feet. To the east, 4368 Black Rock Turnpike, approximately 368 feet. The distance to 4405 in the southeast, approximately 372 feet. In the south to 4539 Black Rock Turnpike, 170 feet. Immediately west to 4570 Black Rock Turnpike, about 266 feet, and then last to 4466 is approximately 147 feet. And with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Cerrone to come up and discuss site concepts and architecture. Yes, Commissioner Harrison?
Okay, has conservation taken action on your revised plans? Because our regulations say that we have to get conservation action before the application we get filed with zoning, I believe.
So we have submitted a permit modification application to the Inland Wetlands Commission that's now pending.
Okay, so you don't have approval yet? Yes or
We
no?
have an original
That was
approval.
from 3 years ago, but they've been revised since, right?
It's been reduced in nature, and in fact, if you look at our supplemental materials, there's a memo in there from conservation staff attesting to the fact that is a reduction in the overall scope of the development. So we're confident, A, it's going to get approved, and B, there's law in our original materials stating to the effect that a site plan application cannot be contingent on an inland wetlands approval. You comply with the statute, if you submit wetlands. I believe it's the day after zoning, if I'm not getting it mixed up. So we believe we're in compliance.
Commissioner Braun.
Our regulations don't say, I don't think, it has to be approved. I think it says it has to be acted on. So if you have a revised plan, I know all the wetlands permits say if there's a revision, it has to go back before the agency. That's not at the front office. That's back to the commission. They have to hold a hearing probably. So if you don't have action on the revised plan, how can that satisfy our regulation? I'm not saying it has to be approved. It has to be acted on.
The Inland Wetlands Commission did act. It was a week or two ago, the Inland Wetlands Commission voted to process the modification application administratively through staff review, rather than hold a separate public hearing or require a new application of sorts.
But they haven't acted though.
They've acted on our original application. This is just a minor reduction in the scope of our development.
That's for them to determine. So I guess my question is, if this has been submitted to this agency, if our regulation says that they have to act on the plan that's before us, and they haven't acted on the plan that's before us.
I mean, respectfully, if Attorney Hollister wants to chime in too, I'd be happy to let him, but the statutes, I believe 8-7 is fairly clear that we're in compliance if we submit.
Let me jump in. I think we'll worry about that legal issue now. We have them, everybody's here. Let's move forward with the hearing.
Can we ask questions about other things now, or do we have to wait till the end?
I mean, it was really pretty peremptory to begin with. What other questions do you have? Can we just
I
get to
have
the
questions
architect?
about the affordable housing ratio that
Okay.
was referenced.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm looking at an exhibit that was handed out to us. It's called Fairfield Affordable Housing Appeals List
Mhm.
from 1994 to 2023. I do note that the ratio goes up and down. And I don't think we've destroyed affordable housing. So could you explain, maybe that explains why it hasn't gone up that much based on how the ratio is structured?
I'm not sure.
Affordable housing,
What are you
I'm sorry.
referring to? I'm sorry. What is? what
Okay, we
document?
add affordable housing all the time.
It's in their stuff?
But the ratio goes up and down, and
Mhm.
you seem to be saying it hasn't gone up very much in the last couple of decades. Could a reason for that be
Oh, okay.
because of the way the ratio is structured? because it includes things that can go up and down, like the use of tenant, Section 8 housing vouchers, or the use of people for CHFA mortgages, which we have no control over and which can go up and down in any given year. Could that be one reason why the ratio doesn't go up that fast? Because that's part of the ratio.
I'm reluctant to speculate as to why the numbers fluctuate. I think the point of our, why we included that is just simply to show trends in the data and simply that.
It is a basis of the claim that we have not done a good job of adding affordable housing. Also, I noticed deed restricted units have gone up and down as well. Do you know why that would have happened? Since I don't think we've ever destroyed affordable housing.
Again, I can't speculate to why.
Then I have another question on. When you mentioned that we only have one basis to deny an application for 8-30G, or two bases. Evidence in the record of a substantial issue of public health or safety. Isn't there more to that definition than that?
Public health and safety can include myriad of things. Wetlands, for example, historic significance, it's
Actually, 8-30G does say other things that are within our jurisdiction. So we can consider things other than public health and safety.
Can you be more clear as to?
Wetlands or historic resources are not within public health or safety, we can still consider those. That's my understanding of the statute. Other things within our jurisdictional area, we can consider if it's important enough.
I'm not sure how to respond to that, frankly.
Listen,
I
that's
don't
all.
want to be limited.
No, this commission is well aware of what the standards are. I mean, we will, if we need more information, but I think it's not just health, it's health, safety, and other interests that are within our jurisdiction as you said, so.
What about the affordable housing? Are the affordable units of the same size as the non-affordable units?
I mean, I believe Mr. Sarone's gonna get into the floor plans and all that, but
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Saron, go ahead.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing us. Just really quickly on that, Mrs. Braun, the drawings, I'm not gonna go through all the square footages. They're listed right on the drawings. All the square
Same size?
footages they're all within 1% or 2% of the affordables. We went through them really diligently. And I know that Mr. Bonhard reviewed our drawings and we made some changes after that as far as locations of affordables to conform with what he had requested. So with that, if I could walk us through the project and then we can answer some more questions. Can we go to I think it's probably yeah, that's fine. So as you probably saw from the site plan, the project's 2 buildings, right? We've labeled them building 1 and building 2. As you were looking at the site plan, the left side, which is the west side, is building 1. The east side is building 2. So this is building 1. Both buildings have the same numbers of units in them. This is the first level of the parking. There's a parking entrance here. Both buildings have a couple of staircases and elevator. They have trash chutes with the trash room. They have a package room and a little elevator lobby here. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Excuse me. Again, this is the second level of parking here. Pretty similar in that, again, the 2 stairs, the trash room, and the elevator and the package room. To the next one, please. So this is a typical floor plan. All of the floor plans, all of the floors of the building, so there's 4 residential floors in each building, have 12 units in them. And both of the buildings have a gym, which is right here. Again, staircase over here, staircase over here. And the units the colored units are the ones that are the affordable units, and they're color coded on here, which ones are 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. Again, we were really careful to make sure that they're comparable to the sizes of the market rate units, and they're dispersed throughout the building accordingly. We can go to the next slide, please. So again, similar layout on this floor. Next floor, please. Okay, so again, same thing, staircase, elevator in the middle. One more. Okay. Actually, could you go back 2 slides to the second floor for me?
That one, Phil?
No, one more.
One more. Nope. Sorry.
That's okay. That one. So, because I would just wanted to point out, which was mentioned earlier, is each one of the buildings has what we're calling it. Basically, it's a guest suite. Essentially, it acts as a hotel room, right? So you live in this complex and your mother, your daughter, your aunt, your uncle, your friend wants to visit. You don't really have room for them in your space. These will be rented out on a short-term basis for somebody to stay. If they're there for 2-3 days, they can stay in this unit. Essentially, it acts as a hotel room. It's right. It's got a, it's got a full bathroom in it. And they're about 400 square feet each. So they're not as big as the residential units themselves. If we can skip past the plans then. So I'm sorry, just go back to that roof plan for 1 second. Thank you very much. So this is the roof plan. And what you'll see on the elevations is that around the perimeter of the building, this is a mansard roof. And it serves a couple of purposes. Number one, it serves aesthetics. Number two, and equally, if not more important, what it does is it shields all of these units, which are all the HVAC units across the roof. So that from any place, unless you're in a helicopter, you won't see or hear the HVAC units. This roof is close to 6 feet tall above the roof height. So to be taller than where the HVAC units are that are going to be on the roof. So that's one of the two reasons, as I said, aesthetics being the other reason that we did that. Okay, we can go to the next slide. This is the exterior of the building, which if you know what, could you go back to the first slide? Because the rendering really shows the building the best. That's it. So this is the building, and this is a view from the top of the hill. And we'll talk about, we have some sections we can show you about how this is built into the hill. So as you can see, this side of the building is built into the hill such a manner that the 2 levels of parking are actually below grade and you don't even see them. Above the 2 floors of parking are the residential units. So these are the 4 stories of residential units. The exterior of the building is a combination of clapboard siding here with wood windows, shutters, and then to break up the materials, we have some brick in different various locations. In a second, we'll see on the other side of the building where the parking is, we have like a faux limestone base on the building. This roof here is what I was talking about as far as the mansard at the top of the building. So those are asphalt shingles there. And then that's about 6 feet above the flat roof that's on the inside. That again, as I said, will shield the units on the roof. And it adds an aesthetic without making the buildings any taller than they need to be. Because if we did a straight gable roof, it would make the height of the building much taller than what we have currently. If we can just flip back through all the plans, I'm sorry.
I'm going to start here.
Yeah, so this is fine. So this again is the one side of the building that's kind of built into the hill. You can see where the 4 levels of residential on. We go to the next one. And then on the bottom of the building, this is the parking level here. So we have a lot of openings in the parking level to get air and light in there to break up the mass of the building. And the base of the building is essentially some sort of composite material, limestone looking material, some sort of faux limestone, if not real limestone, once we get to pricing and everything else. I can walk you through both buildings, but the buildings are virtually identical. I mean, I'm happy to do it, but the plans are same numbers of units and everything else, but in the sake of time, I see Mr. Noonan shaking his head in agreement. If we could,
They're in different locations in terms of the height. Like I see that looks like 6 stories when it's facing downhill.
it's facing the other side of the building. So I could show you the elevations of both buildings if you want to just flip through. So this is the other building here. So this faces the side that you were just talking about, Mrs. Braun. So you have the 4 stories of residential here, and then the parking levels here. And you can see as this goes up, it starts to get buried into the hill. The other thing I didn't point out on the plan is we do have a little clubhouse space here that's on the second parking level of this building. So there's a space there that will serve as an amenity space for the people that are in the complex to use. We do have a bike room in the building also. We have a dog park on the complex. So we've tried to incorporate all of the amenities that we think are applicable to this project. We do have here, you can see, we have overhead doors for the trash pickup. And when Avon speaks, he'll go over how we get vehicles in and out of the site. We do have turning radiuses for the fire department. We've spoken to the fire department. The building will meet all of the fire codes. So we're confident on that. Some changes have been made after we went to code enforcement to make sure we comply with everything. We have a code consultant in addition to our team, Joe Versteeg, who's I think on the call and could answer any specific questions about that. Could we just flip past this? I think at the end of this is the sections. So, yeah, so can we just back one slide, please? Thank you, appreciate it. So here's a section through the site, and you can see how far up the hill goes. Is this section 1 or 2? Can you see that number?
2.
Okay, so this is section 2, which cuts through the north-south section of the site. And you can see as the site goes up the hill, how much higher it is. And we're not quite to the top of the building, but from the upland side of the site, as it's been built into the hill, we're probably only about 20 feet above where the ground is, and we're not much higher than the houses that are up the hill from us. Can we just go to the next slide, please? So you can't quite see, but the street is down, I believe, down here. And you can see how this slopes up. I'm sorry, this is actually, no, the street is on the other one. This is not, this is the top of the hill here. Right. This is the top of the hill here. And so you can see where we are in relative to the top of the hill. Black Rock Turnpike is much, much lower than the top of this hill. So our challenge
Where
was
is Black Rock Turnpike in this?
the Black Rock Turnpike's not on this one.
Is it
Yeah,
to-
we'd have to go back to the site plan to see it.
But it's to the little left, is that what I'm?
Well-
Straight.
Yeah, it's straight ahead, right?
Yeah.
Behind the 2 buildings.
Yeah, we don't have the site plan, unfortunately, that shows where the sections are cut, but if you go to the site plan, I can show you where these sections are cut. You'd have to go all the way back. I'm so sorry.
Landscape plan?
The landscape plan would be fine. So that, one more back. Yeah, so the one section is basically cut here. Okay, that's section number 2, which was the first one you saw. Section number 1, which is the one you were looking at now, is cut through the building this way. So Black Rock Turnpike's on the bottom of the sheet here.
Okay, thank you.
So this slopes way up over here. So this is, all the height is here, right? So when you're over here, you're at like the 3rd story of the residential units if you're standing on the ground up over here. And, Matt Pop will go through the landscaping, but you can kind of see where, we have a lot of landscaping. So you come in the site here, this grades up here. The elevations that are the tallest sides of the building really just face each other. So when you're down here on the street, you're going to see part of the building, of course, but you're going to see it built into the hill. And then the clubhouse section is up here.
Let him go through. And
So
let him go through and then let's ask questions.
that's pretty much, I mean, I could go through just a couple of quick other little things as far as, safety goes. We will have a complete fire sprinkler system in the building. As I said, we'll meet all the codes. We do have the 2 exits that are required by codes. We'll have standpipes in the stairs for the fire department. We'll work with the fire department as far as where their connections would be. They'll determine where they want those connections. We'll of course have Knox boxes on the buildings for them. And if need be, and I think, and again, Avon could talk about it, but I believe we actually have a fire hydrant on the property that we're adding to the property also for safety reasons. So that essentially is a summary of the project. In my opinion, this building can be built to meet all the codes, to be a safe project, and not endanger the health, safety, or welfare of the public. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Braun.
Could you go back to the picture showing, when you said it went up? I thought, I've been by that site. It looked like the site goes down from Black Rock Turnpike. The one that showed, it was like a rendering looking from Black Rock Turnpike of the 2 buildings, like with a brown pathway that, like an access road.
One of these.
Like a color rendering.
The only color
Oh,
red
first
one we
page,
have
I'm sorry.
is all the way at the beginning.
Well, there was one that showed the 2 buildings and,
That one?
yeah.
Okay.
Three.
She wants the landscape plan.
Third page, sorry. I'm not
'Cause
helping
when I
you.
drive by the site, it looks like the whole thing is downhill from Black Rock Turnpike.
No,
How does
I
it
mean,
go up?
it climbs up pretty steep from here. I mean, David could talk about the grading better than I can, but I think, is it 40 or 50 feet, David?
Yeah, for the most.
Yeah, so from this point here on Black Rock Turnpike to here is 40 or 50 foot climb up the hill. I don't know. It's
So Black Rock Turnpike's on the bottom of that plan,
100%, right?
and you're looking towards the pond, Hoyt's Pond?
Aerial.
Wetlands areas are back there?
Way back over here.
You think it goes up before it goes down?
South western part of.
Over
That's
here?
where the wetlands area.
Yeah, but that's way down here. I mean, so this might have a little bit of slope there, but we're building it here. We're building into the hill.
I'm still trying to understand the hill. Does the hill go up from Black Rock Turnpike and then
100%.
down again afterwards? So where's the blasting gonna be then?
There is no blasting.
Somewhere it said that you were gonna remove 42,000 cubic yards of
But
fill.
there,
There's no ledge or anything there?
so far, the excavations we've done for test pits and everything, and we've actually had the soils tested because we thought it might be able to be used for septic systems and things. We've found no ledge there so far, remarkably.
Okay, and then I have a couple questions on the fire marshal. I'm looking at the code.
Well, let's, hold on, I think we
I'll
have,
let someone else go.
well, Mr. Versteeg is gonna speak on fire, I suspect, right?
I don't know if he's. Yeah.
All right, so let's wait for fire for him. Anything else,
I think.
Commissioner Ford and, oh, and then Randolph?
Can you go back to the guest suite? Can you take me through how that all works? I see on the plan, I'm looking at, it. Is there one in each building or?
There's one in each building, correct?
Who manages that? How does that?
Well, there'll be a management company in the building, so if, let's just say you live there and you have a friend or a guest that's coming to visit you, you don't have room in your apartment, you call management and you say, hey, on April 14th and 15th, I have a guest, I'd like to use the guest suite, assuming it's available, then you rent it for that weekend or those days. It rents out like a hotel room, so become very common in these complexes.
Are you good, Dan? Oh, where?
I may have more questions on that, but I'll do some research on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Randolph?
Yes, so here, I'll give you 4 or 5 questions. You can write them down and answer them in sequence. So,
Why don't we go one at a time? That might be. easier.
okay, so what's the parking ratio?
Yeah. Can we wait till we get to, I mean,
Okay, good.
our
Get the
site guys
parking.
will talk.
Get the parking, okay.
Yeah.
Are there other buildings in Fairfield that have a similar scale? You've done a number of other buildings in the area. Is there another building you could point to that has a similar scale and use of materials?
Off the top of my head, I mean, as far as the scale, it's between, depending on where you're looking at, it's a 4 to 6 story building. There's definitely buildings in town that are 4 and 6 stories. Over where Staples is, those buildings are 4 and 5 stories. These buildings are probably down pretty close to the height of Metro, where the Metro station is. Those are 5-story buildings over there. And I don't remember, I can't tell you the materials are exactly the same, but they're all kind of similar as far as clapboard and brick, so.
Is Uncle with 3? Uncle was 4?
So I mean, depending on where you're looking at it, I mean, again, those buildings, all the multifamilies that are down by the train station are about the same height.
In the materials, is there another building that has similar materials?
Clapboard and brick, I mean, we can get you a list of them. I'm sure there's plenty of them in Fairfield.
That would be helpful. Are you gonna have somebody talk about lighting separately?
Yes, we are.
And then, landscaping, you'll address that as well separately?
We have Matt Pops, our landscape architect, he's here.
Great.
And there's a photometric plan in the submittal.
And then, it would be helpful if you could just, show the AMSL for the top of the building. Cause there's a lot of questions about the height of the building in relation to the road, but, AMSL for the road, top of the building and then the parking lot. I didn't see it anywhere here, but.
Well, I mean, we have the elevations, off our average grade at our parking level, obviously. We can get them to you off of the street elevation for sure.
It'd be helpful to show the relationship of the height of the Black Rock Turnpike to the height of the top of the building. Because I probably could figure it out by looking at the elevations, but if you could provide that information. it'd be helpful.
Sure. Anything else?
If it can be,
About
just-
height?
what?
Question about height.
Yeah,
Um,
skip to the height, then we can move on.
The mansard, does that I didn't see anything sticking up above the roof, like elevator things, stairwell, the top portion, HVAC. Are those all hidden? How high are those? Are they above the level of the mansard roof, but you just can't see them from the drawing?
No, there's nothing that's above the mansard roof.
Okay, and what is the elevation? It's somewhere in your package. It looked like the elevation from grade was different on different sides of the building. So I'm looking at the downhill side.
Yeah, well, I mean, the grade slopes around the entire building. So I mean, on some sides, it's obviously going to vary. I mean, per the zoning regulations, we have the average grade and the height off of the average grade for both of the buildings. And we've listed what is the average grade, and that's calculated by our surveyors and civil engineers.
So the highest grade you have, I thought I saw 66 feet.
That sounds correct.
And that would be on one of the buildings facing the downhill side, meaning towards the wetland area.
It would be, probably the highest point of the building. Again, the 66.5, which is the average grade on the one building, is the average grade, right? So there's not necessarily one point that's 66.5. The highest point of our building is between the two buildings.
I'm talking about, what is the highest point of the building above grade? At what point on what building is the highest height above grade?
Again,
Is it
the top of the building doesn't change. It's the same every
The
place.
grade changes, right?
Right, so the
Some of them look like
tallest
they were
part of the
7
building
stories.
is
Yeah.
between the two buildings. So
One building's here, one building's here, one building's here, where my two thumbs are, that's the tallest part of the building that face each other.
I'm trying to get the height of the building above grade.
I gave it to you, it's 66.5
above average grade.
Average. What is the height of the actual grade of the tallest?
It depends. If I take 10 different locations, it's gonna be 10 different heights.
Okay, trying to figure out, one of the pictures looked like it was at least 7 stories.
It's not 7 stories. It's 2 levels of parking and 4 levels of residential above it. And at some sides, on some locations of the project, it's only 4 stories above grade, and some, of course, it's 6.
Could you show
The
picture?
highest part
Could you show
of the
picture?
building is what faces the other building.
Could you just show the picture that showed the tallest building in relation to the grade? The tallest.
Sure, it would be one of
I'm
the
just trying to figure out what that height
elevations.
is.
That one, no, you just passed it.
That one, Phil?
Next one, that one, yeah.
Yeah, so what is the height of where the ground depresses there, but the top of the building is flat? What is the height of that portion of the building? Looks
I
like
can,
it's 70 or 80 feet.
It's not 80 feet, I can tell you that. So the parking level is at elevation 0, and the top of that roof there is at elevation 70, so it's approximately 70 feet. Again, on that one wall, if I measured in 10 different locations, it's gonna be 10 different heights. So again, the regulations require us to do average grade and height.
We addressed it.
Thank you.
Your next person.
Thank you.
So next we have Mr. Bauer to discuss the site.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Avon Bauer. I'm a professional engineer with Cusitis Engineering here out of Fairfield, Connecticut. And I just want to kind of go through some of the considerations we had for the project, in particular in relation to the wetlands area first. So as far as the regulated activities go, we initially obtained a wetlands permit through the IWA in July of 2022. Yeah, would you mind going to the next slide? Yeah, that's perfect. So the original proposal that was approved by that commission was this red building here. It was 3 floors of parking with 150 total units proposed. We've significantly reduced that scope from what that approval was. So part of that discussion that you were having earlier in regard to the approval through the commission, 2 weeks ago, I did go back to the commission, and what they voted on was not to necessarily approve any new material. What they did is they approved our modification to be handled at the administrative level rather than going back to a public hearing. The main reason for that was the Director of Conservation, Tim Bishop. This red hatched area in here is a significant reduction in both height and earthwork that was going to be proposed within the upland review area. If you wouldn't mind, Emmeline, could you go back 1 slide for me, please? Mary? Hello?
Area.
Yeah, I think this, I don't know if it died. The light won't turn back on.
It's mine. Thank you.
Yeah, this other one. We lose the batteries.
Yeah, the light won't turn back on, so I don't know how. All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so yeah, as I mentioned, the scope of the project has been significantly reduced. To Commissioner Braun's point, for a little clarification, the driveway is along Black Rock Turnpike, about a third of the way from the west side of the property. This is the driveway that comes up through there with parking on either side. What you were thinking with the low portion of the property, that's the wetlands area where there's a little culvert that comes across the street. But from this point here to a high point over here, there's, I believe, greater than 60-foot rise in the property. That all comes through from the low area of the wetlands up to the high area of the property on the west side. This area here is, I believe, 30 feet or so above the street level at that point.
Can I ask a question since he's on it right now?
Sure.
Where are the wetlands way in the back where Hoyt's Pond is?
Hoyt's Pond is not, it's on the adjacent property here, but on the opposite side, it's up probably a couple 100 feet north of our property.
It's not within the upland review. You're not within.
We are not within the upland review area of Hoyt's
That
Pond.
connects
No.
to this wetland system right here?
Yeah, this eventually, it comes from across the street, drains under the street, and then eventually the brook carries it into Hoyt
Is
Pond.
that Quicker Brook?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if that brook is even named, but it might be.
Go ahead.
All right, so in addition to the conservation approval, we've also attained the WPCA approval for those 150 units originally. The original approval was from summer of 2019. We have achieved an extension for 2 years in 2021 and 2023. And with our during the code review, we did have some recent conversation with the WPCA department. And they are requiring that we do include additional flow monitoring, which we are actually currently going underway. There we go. We're back.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that we are currently undergoing flow monitoring in 2 new locations that went in last week. We have to wait for 2 half-inch rainstorms, which we actually, I believe, attained one last night. I'm waiting on confirmation from the department for sure. And we anticipate having approval through new approval for the 96 units that we are proposing prior to the expiry of our current approvals in June of 2025. Would you mind going to the next two slides forward, please? This is a little table from the conservation director that was in his memo. It shows the reduction in impervious surfaces, not only for the total impervious on the site, which was reduced pretty significantly, but the building impervious was reduced quite a bit because we've gone from 1 very large building to 2 smaller buildings. And the URA is the upland review area, meaning the conservation setback, or not setback area, but the area that they have special consideration for us to appear before them for. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this is just a quick snippet of the the garages in the west building. That's the building on the left as you're looking from the street. Each building is equipped with, this building is equipped with 54 total spaces, 26 on the first level, 28 on the second. And in this building, there are 3 ADA handicap compliant spaces, one here, and another here. Could you go to the next slide, please? This is the building on the east or the right-hand side as you're looking at it when you come up from Black Rock. Same thing, this one has 51 total parking spaces just due to the configuration of the parking garage entrances. 26 on the first level and 25 on the second, again with 3 ADA compliant spaces as well. Oh, there's the last one right there.
Where's the EV?
So, and that's the one I'm going to go next. Could you go to the next slide, please? So at the request of the fire marshal, we have made all of our EV spaces outdoors to prevent any kind of fire safety hazard due to the lithium batteries. They are all located. There are 7 of them down in this portion of the property. All these will be EV equipped. This highlighted region that you see here is a 12 by 30 loading space, which is capable of fitting a box truck for any kind of deliveries that come to the property. And it also provides a swing, it helps to provide a swing radius for a fire truck to be able to get in the 47-foot fire truck, the ladder truck that the Fairfield Fire Department has to be able to get in and out of the property without having to make any kind of swooping or dangerous turn. Could you go to the next slide, please? So this is our drainage plan. So what you'll see here is there are three subsurface drainage systems on the property as well as one surface treatment system. So the first system is right back here. This is going to collect all of the stormwater runoff for the east building, the building number 2. It's all going to be collected and directed in through this manhole into the system. If this system were to overflow during large storm events, there is a level spreader that runs right along the side of the building here. And that directs all the runoff at a very low level to avoid scouring and erosion back into the wetlands area, which was a critical part of our design. There's another system right here that's also consisting of subsurface concrete galleries. That's to collect the other building. And the main part of our design is because we know that the vast majority of biotoxins come from the driveway area. We have a bioretention rain garden right here with subsurface galleries underneath that to provide some additional storage. And what that system does is it filters the water, provides all three of these systems, provide water quality volume prior to discharge overland into the wetlands. These are all modified based on our new development, but they have all been present since the beginning of this project or development, excuse me, from when we were going in for the original wetlands permit 3 years ago. So all these systems have been approved and reviewed multiple times by the town engineer. She didn't offer any feedback on these. She was satisfied with their design. And we are looking for, excuse me, in this rain garden, we do detain 70% of the water quality volume and in just the rain garden itself without accounting for the additional storage below, at which point all three of these systems do detain the full water quality and groundwater recharge volume that would be required for all the new impervious surfaces on the site. Would you mind going to the next slide, please? This is our sewer layout plan. So there's manholes that run through the street or the driveway that's going to run down and collect all of our all the sewage from the two buildings and drain down into the street sewer system in Black Rock Turnpike. Would you mind going back one slide, actually? One other item I did want to mention is that right over here, there is a fire hydrant proposed. That was at the request of the fire marshal. He requested that it be at the back of the property. So where there is currently no fire hydrant in the street in the vicinity of our property right now, there's a water line that's going to be specifically designed only for the fire hydrant to provide any kind of fire mitigation should it be necessary on the property. Could you go 2 slides forward, please? So this is just a quick layout of what our fire department turning radius is. As you can see, the truck can make its way into the property, back up and turn around in one clean motion. It doesn't need to make a multiple point turn. That's the reason the buildings are somewhat V-shaped, as well as to meet the topography to minimize the amount of earthwork and grading that we were going to need to do. Could you go to the next slide, please? This is one of our sediment and erosion control plans. We have 2 of them due to the anticipated disturbance of the property. So we've got a silt fence that runs around the entirety of the property and along the wetlands area in order to preserve this area at the recommendation of Jim McManus, who is one of our wetlands consultants for the original hearing. We've implemented a super silt fence, which is effectively a chain link fence with a silt fence in front of it to provide additional support so that that barrier doesn't get destroyed and cause any kind of adverse impact to the wetlands. All disturbed areas of the slopes, which you see this hatched area here, that is all going to be planted immediately or as quickly as possible. Will be stabilized with hay matting and then planted with ground cover plantings to provide long-term stabilization of the site. Could you go to the next slide, please? Just as one additional matter to ensure that we don't have any adverse impacts, everything from the construction standpoint is temporarily graded to what we call sediment basins. There's one right through here. And we're going to utilize part of the rain garden as another one. And what that's to do is all the surface runoff before even getting to the silt fence, which, under heavy storms during construction when the drainage hasn't been installed, there are some considerations that all the sediment is going to be put into these basins. That's going to be checked monthly, verified that it's still functioning monthly and dredged out as often as needed, as well as there will be some sort of protection, silt fence down gradient of both of these to ensure that really we want to make sure that no sediment gets down into the wetlands area and causes an adverse impact to public health or safety. Would you go to the next slide, please? Okay, actually, would you mind going back just one more slide? And although we don't have any requirement to meet the excavation and fill regulations through the commission, because we did go through the Conservation Commission for their approvals, we have in good faith done our best to meet those regulations as much as possible. The property slopes pretty significantly downhill from the west high point to the east where the wetlands are. And the excavation anticipated is just shy of 40,000 cubic yards of soil, which is give or take 2,000 truck trips to remove the excess material. We had soil borings done that went down all 50 feet in 4 different locations throughout the property, which is deeper than any of the foundations for either of these buildings or any of the activity that we're doing. And we did not actually find any ledge. It's all, quite frankly, it's all just clean sand that runs all the way down through that entire area. We've agreed to restrict all of our excavation activity from Monday to Friday between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And we did have a memo that explains some of the optional compliance with your excavation and fill regulations at tab 7 in your additional materials. But the overall scope of everything is that we are providing a very robust sediment and erosion controls plan to protect not only any downgradient properties, but ensure that the wetlands area and all other public areas are maintained and protected in the long term, as well as the short term during construction. In my professional opinion, I do believe that this development could occur without any adverse impact to public health or safety. I do appreciate your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Harrison.
Just going back to the flow monitoring, can you describe what that is, what it does, what's your
Sure.
basis?
So basically, anytime you're doing a larger development in the town of Fairfield, the WPCA requires that you have adequate capacity for the sewer system to handle. Basically, what we're doing is we're monitoring certain pipes in the street to determine what the current flows are. And then we estimate based on some different standards set forth by the town and the state, how much flow is going to be coming from this development for sewer purposes to ensure that we have enough flow in those pipes. We did monitor one location previously and analyzed a total of 3 for that 2019 approval, all of which were well below the threshold for the amount of sewer flow that we needed.
How long do you monitor that?
A minimum of 4 weeks. We're already beyond 1 week in, and the minimum requirement is 2 half-inch rainstorms to determine it's what's called inflow and infiltration. Coming from other things, and we like I said yesterday, we did, I believe, meet that requirement for one of those 2 storms.
It rained on Monday, I think, right?
Yes,
Did you
yeah.
Do any testing then?
Yeah, the monitors remain in for a minimum of 4 weeks. They are constantly in there monitoring every couple seconds.
Sorry, thank you. All right, thank you for that. And then, I don't know if this is your area, but what's the current, I guess, ratio of impervious surface right now? What would be, how much more would we have with this development?
Sure. So the short answer is 100%. Right now, there's no impervious area. In the area of analysis, there is a small driveway that comes through this easement, these easements of the property to access some of the other properties. Yeah, if you don't mind going.
Go ahead, go all the way back, right?
Right there, yeah, this one. So you see this easement here is a driveway easement to access some of the rear properties.
Okay.
But because we're not touching any of that area, that was not in part of our stormwater analysis. So we did not consider any impervious area under existing conditions, basically creating an existing woodland. It's a conservative measure to ensure that we're not over designing or under designing anything.
Commissioner Braun.
Could you lay out the wetlands flags and also the edge of the 100-foot buffer or upland review area around the wetlands?
Yeah. So the wetlands flags, what you see it's this kind of jagged line right here. So it was flagged back in 2019 when we started the project or the development, excuse me. This area here on the other side, this right here is the Aquarion water line. There's a partial easement over our property, but the water line itself is not located on our property. The 100-year or the 100-foot setback right through here. So this line is, and this line here is a conservation easement area, which is something we made sure that was our limit of activity, and we did not go anywhere beyond with anything that we're proposing into the easement area. Only a small portion of our activity is within the 100-foot upland review area.
So could you describe what's within the upland review area?
So within the upland review area, there's a small, if you don't mind going just one slide forward, I believe, or 2 slides maybe. One more if you could. So the impervious area in the upland review area, under the initial proposal was 3,350 square feet. We reduced it to 2,800 square feet for a reduction total of 550 square feet. And basically we've gone down 1,500 square feet for the total area of disturbance. It was 10,000 and 8,500. Could you go back one slide, please? Yeah, that's depicted here. This red area is the area that we're no longer touching that we were previously. And the only portion of impervious area is this tiny sliver of the building and this little bit of the driveway that's in there. Everything else is drainage infrastructure to provide a benefit.
Well, the drainage infrastructure is also construction activity within the upper area, right?
Yes, yeah, it was incorporated into the construction activity.
And what portion of the drainage system is within that buffer area? Can you
Uh,
just describe what it is?
Yeah, this is the subsurface drainage system. This is the rain garden. This system is right up against it, but the level spreader for its overflow is in here. And the reason we did that is because we wanted to direct all increase in runoff. Any overflows will go back into the wetlands area as opposed to being redirected from their natural flow
And
paths.
by subsurface drainage systems, describe what those are right there in the,
Yeah, so this one here and this one here, it's a set of, they're 4 foot wide by 4 foot long by 4 foot high concrete galleries. They sit below grade and all of our drainage pipes from the 2 buildings will be directed into them. This is the system. It has Coltech R330s, those blue half dome chambers that you see
Mhm.
sometimes. That's gonna be underneath a rain garden, which provides water, it's really meant for water quality volume as well as the retention. It provides biofiltration, which is a natural way to eliminate toxins. And the reason that's here is because we have a pretty significant driveway, which is where most of the concern for biotoxins is, and that's the rain garden is the best opportunity to remove
so
those.
the way you described it before, all of the parking lot areas that are exposed to the air.
Yep.
You have underground parking also, that's separate, right?
Yes, yeah, the underground parking, no stormwater is obviously gonna be into that, but
And those hook up to the, I'm sorry, not to interrupt myself, but the internal parking lot will hook up to the sanitary sewer system.
if the building department deems necessary, yes, that's where we
I
call.
think that's a requirement, but okay, so the outside parking, where is that located, first of all?
So the outside parking it's all through this area here. I was gonna say, there might be a
Between the two
slide
buildings?
with it. Yeah, in between the 2 buildings, effectively, there you go.
Okay, how many spaces are there on the outside parking?
25 total spaces
And
outside
all of that stormwater will be directed towards that
towards the. rain
infiltrator
garden.
system and then the rain garden? Or
It goes to the rain garden first to provide the maximum ability for bioretention.
Then it goes into an infiltration system?
Yes, yeah, before overflowing into the wetlands,
And
but
which-
after treatment.
That's the third infiltrator system. right?
That's the lowest one, yes.
Can you bring back the other one that shows the bigger, the wider view? And can you show where the test pits were done in relation to all the different infiltrator systems?
Sure, yeah, we have, it's a little difficult to see, but this little box here, this little box and this box, all are within the influence zone of this drainage system. There's this box right here, these 2 boxes, there's one inside here. Those were all conducted inside the areas of the drainage systems.
And what about the other, isn't there a third one?
Yeah, that's this one here, 1, 2, and 3.
And what's the level of groundwater remodeling in terms of vertical distance from the bottom of the infiltrator to where the modeling might take place?
In these 2 systems, it is undetermined because even though we went down more than 10 feet and the soil borings went down more than 50, we did not incur any groundwater in that area. This one, I believe we are just about 2 feet above the restrictive layer, or maybe we're at least 1 foot, which is the town engineering standard.
So by restrictive area, you mean either modeling or groundwater?
Correct.
And you're supposed to be a certain vertical, the bottom of
Yes,
the
1 foot.
drainage hat. I keep hearing it's 3 feet. Could you, it's 1 foot?
Yeah, for the town standards and any project that I've worked on, it's always been 1 foot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Matthew Pop, landscape architect, professional wetland scientist, environmental land solutions.
our office is in Norwalk. I prepared the landscaping plan, which is I think the second slide right there. That's the not all of the plan, but most of it. Usually when I start off with the plan, like last time I think I presented, and it started off with the most significant trees, the larger growing shade trees. Those are placed around the parking lot. There's 28 shade trees. And there's actually, let me just go over this. There's a plant list here. And if you, on the actual plan, it has the numbers, the key, the scientific name, the common name, and the sizes. And so how the plant list works, it has the kind of the shade trees to start off with, which are larger growing trees. And then we have the smaller understory ornamental trees. Then we have evergreen trees here, and then the rest are shrubs, followed by ground cover at the bottom. So again, so the shade trees are up here. There's 28 of them, and they're kind of the larger circles here. The circles are approximately 18 to 22 inches in diameter and size. So those shade trees are located in the back here, along the access way here, and along Black Rock Turnpike. The next set of trees is the understory ones. Those are hawthorn and shads. There's 27 of those, and those are used mainly for focal points, like along the entrance here. In the parking areas where there's space is kind of limited, we go with the smaller trees. The next grouping is evergreen trees. There's 46 of those, and those are the spruce and holly, mainly kind of in the back through here and back through on this side here, where the evergreens are located. Again, 46 of those. And then there's like 15 green giants, which I guess you technically they would be an evergreen tree, but kind of keep those separate. They're back here. This is actually the clubhouse area here, that one-story building. Proceeding right along the perimeter of the building, this greener area, that would just be a lawn area. The mustard color, yellowish here, that would be a no-mow seed mix. It's a fescue, mix of fescues. You get cut just like a lawn area, or it can get cut monthly or even yearly. So that's a lower maintenance seed mix. We have the rain garden, down through here. The rain garden is planted with native plants. Most of the plants are native. Sometimes the plants in rain gardens are kind of tough to get established because the soils are sandy. But we're using blue flag iris, Joe pie weed, and ferns. Try to use plants that are deer resistant if there's such a thing. So there's also a dog or park or dog run back through here. And walk around the building here. That's located in a level area. It's well away from the wetland area. On a lot of projects like this, people forget to add dog runs. So there'll be, I'm sure there'll be dogs in this development. I did prepare the lighting plan. The lights aren't on the landscape plan. It shows that what the light picture looks like. It's 12 feet in height. It's just a downward directing light, so it's dark sky compliant. 3000 K, which means it's a warm tone light. It's not a harsh white fixture. And then this is the foot candle plan. It's kind of tough to see, but coming in here, these British outlines are where the limit of footprint candles is approximately 1. So I think it's fairly well lit. I don't think it's overlit. Try to prevent the site from being overlit. So again, the lighting, dark sky, 3000 K, 12 feet in height. That's kind of a pedestrian level scale. Try not to go above that. So occasionally I go to 14 feet. So just to sum up, just think the landscape could be, installed, maintained easily without any adverse impact to, the public health, their safety. Again, try to use native plants, which are good for the wildlife habitat. Here for any questions.
Senator Randolph.
Thank you for your explanation. I see that on, it's actually on your landscape, I'm sorry, on your lighting plan, and then, yeah, it's on your lighting plan. You show the existing trees. Looks like you did a survey of the wetland area.
Just a tad louder.
Oh, sure. On the lighting plan, you show a survey, it looks like you have a survey of the existing trees in the wetland area.
Correct.
Is there any plan to, if you will, tend to or improve that wetland area? Basically get rid of any invasives, improve the area.
When I visited the site, it didn't look like there was many invasive at all through that area. Kind of like to, keep people from going in there. Sometimes, I would say, improve it. So, a landscape contractor might think, that might mean cleanup, get rid of all the ground debris on the ground, which is great for wildlife habitat. So I think that's an area that we want to just stay out of altogether.
Good. So you've given that some thought. I appreciate it. That's
Yeah.
really my question.
Yeah.
And then secondly, thank you for dark sky compliant. We appreciate that. Would it be possible to measure the DBH of the trees you're removing and show how the replacement trees compare to the DBH of the trees that are there right now?
Sure. If we have them, I'm not sure if we have the trees outside that, out the review area.
The tree,
But we can check.
I'm referring really just asking if you could do survey of the trees that are being removed and then assure that the trees that are replacing the DBH replaces the DBH that's what's getting removed.
So, excuse me. So what the landscaping we proposed, our photometric plan shows what the proposed light, illumination around the site will be, and there's just minimal light spill off near the sidewalk off Black Rock Turnpike. So we wouldn't think a survey of that would be necessary.
What's DBH?
There's the width of the tree, the width of the trees.
Diameter press height.
Yeah, I'm talking about the trees, not the lights.
If, Mr. Pop, if you have that information, but if not, I would just defer to the fact that our photometric plan shows no light spill off site, so. we can just-
Not light of spill off question. It's.
He's trying to make sure that the trees that you're removing, well, the trees that you're putting in are somewhat equal in the diameter of the trees being taken out.
And I know you don't have that answer right now. I'm just asking.
Usually, when you have a lidded site and you're developing it, it's almost impossible to get to that area. So usually we try to have like a 1-to-1 ratio or something, some level like that.
You know what I'm asking.
Yeah, so we'll come up with some comparison.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I don't expect you to have it now, but if for future, but it's not like lighting, I'm good on. I was asking about the tree replacement.
Very good.
Because it's a heavily wooded site and it's canopy is important there. So
It is.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Steve Cipolla, Senior Traffic Engineer with Hardesty in Hanover. We prepared the traffic access and impact study for the proposed development. To start off, we conducted turning movement counts on Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, from 7 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. typical commuter peak hours. We conducted those counts at two locations. The first location was Black Rock Turnpike at Congress Street and the southbound on-ramp to the Merritt Parkway, the traffic signal on the corner where Hi Ho and the office building is. The second location we counted was Black Rock Turnpike at Bennington Drive, which our proposed access drive will be directly opposite it. From our traffic counts, we determined the peak hour of Black Rock Turnpike to be 7:45 to 8:45 in the morning and 5 to 6 p.m. in the afternoon. This is our table 2 from our traffic study. We looked at, we collected crash data from the Connecticut Crash Data Repository for the latest 3 full years that were available. The data that was collected from the Connecticut Crash Data Repository. Is data that has been submitted by the Fairfield Police Department to the state and summarized and put in a format for us to download. Results of the crash data did not indicate any accident patterns of any type. There was a total of 5 accidents at the traffic signal over a 3-year period, 4 in between the signal and Bennington Drive, and 2 at Bennington Drive over the 3-year period. Then we took our existing traffic volumes and we projected them out to a design year of 2027 using an annual growth rate of 0.8% per our discussions with the Connecticut DOT Planning Department. In addition, we reached out both to the Connecticut DOT Planning Department as well as the town planner to verify all other developments, and those other developments that were identified were accounted for in our traffic study. That's what we used to get to a no build condition without the proposed residential development. Then to determine the amount of site traffic our development would generate, we went to the latest edition of the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Handbook. And the proposed development is estimated to generate a total of 36 vehicles during the morning peak hour, 38 during the weekday afternoon peak hour. Based on reviewing existing travel patterns as well as anticipated travel patterns for the residents, we determined that it would be a majority of the traffic would travel towards the Merritt Parkway into the, I guess, east or south. We estimated about 80% would go that direction, with the remaining 20 going to the north. We added that site traffic to our no build to get to a build condition. And then we provided an analysis in table 4 of our traffic study for existing, no build and build. And the last column in the table there is the project impacts, which is a comparison between a no build condition without the project and a build condition with the proposed site traffic added. And the results of that analysis indicated that there was no changes in level of service or significant increase in delay. Therefore, our findings from a traffic operational standpoint is that there's no adverse impact to the study area intersections that were analyzed. We also, at the time of our collected the existing turning movement counts at the 2 study area intersections, we also collected speed data along the site frontage for a 1-week period to determine the 85th percentile speed along the site frontage. And from that speed, we were able to calculate the required intersection site distance based on the Connecticut DOT Highway Design Manual. And the requirement to the left of the driveway was 562 feet, and to the right is 530 feet. And we provide in excess of the requirements in both directions. We also looked at to the extent of our survey, which went out about 650 feet in both directions, and our sidelines do extend to, at least to that extent. In closing, it's my professional opinion that the development will not cause any adverse public health and safety impacts. And if there's any questions.
Sight lines extend both ways, at least 650 feet.
Correct.
I know you're supposed to, you guys stop at whatever is required, but I appreciate you going farther.
Yeah, when we go to DOT for the encroachment permit, they're only gonna require us show on a plan to the requirement. They're not gonna ask.
No, I know, it always questions like, is it exactly at the required or is it beyond? So
Yeah,
it's 50 both ways.
Yeah,
Okay.
we wanted to provide that to you.
Thank you.
Figured it would come up, so.
Commissioner Braun.
I have a question about trip generation.
Sure.
Okay, so this complex has 96 units. I calculated 118 bedrooms. And plus of the one bedroom units, 30, there's 30 of them that have dens. So that tells me there could be like 148 cars, you only have 130 parking spaces, I think, but. And your trip generation only showed, what, 30 people leaving in the morning, or 36?
Yes.
What's your morning
Low.
peak
It
hour?
seems low.
Our
Your morning peak hour?
morning peak hour was 7:45 to 8:45.
And now this is an area that has no sidewalks and nowhere to walk to. Everybody has to drive when they leave this place, right?
Correct, yes.
So the basis for this is trip generation. Does that have any specific town-specific or site-specific background data calculated into that?
I believe in another application that we've submitted that we were a part of the town as part of one of the questions from the commission was how does it compare to a similar site in town? And we did collect data at a similar at a residential site. I believe it was Black Rock Turnpike down by Tungus Hill Cutoff. And we compared that to the ITE rates, and that showed that the ITE rates and the town-specific site did have a similar trip rate.
Except, of course, in the Tungus Hill area, there's a lot of pedestrians that walk to the store. There's nowhere to walk here. And you're gonna only have people driving.
Mr. Harrison?
Okay. Thank you for your presentation. That was very informative. I guess if I don't have a car, how do I get to the grocery store? Like, where is the nearest bus stop? So if I have affordable housing, I may not have a car. So how do I get to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker?
There's no bus stops on the Tungus Hill Road.
So if people don't have a car, I guess, how do they get to the grocery store? Do they walk?
They would call an Uber or go with a friend, call a ride. I can't speculate now.
So you don't know where there's the nearest bus stop?
No, I did check and I did not see one on Black Rock Turnpike in our area.
2 miles away.
Thank you. Commissioner Braun?
Is Uber factored into the trip generation? Like, how old is the data that goes into that? It says 2021.
Yes, this is the latest available data, which is from 2021.
I would imagine a lot of people here, if they don't have a car, would have to have a lot of deliveries and Uber and everything else like that.
The reality is, we're gonna be upfront with, the tenants, maybe those without a car, maybe they wouldn't choose this particular development to go into, knowing that there's, the sidewalks, and if it's not near a bus stop. I mean, these are all things that anyone looking for an apartment would factor in when they're choosing an appropriate location to live.
And regarding the accident data, I didn't get a chance to look at what's in the packet, but what years does that cover?
2021 and 2023, it says.
Yeah, at the time of the time of the study, they didn't have, they only had about half of 2024 data, so we typically provide full year of data, 2021 through 2023.
So to get data after that, you'd have to go to the local town sources for accidents, correct?
Correct. Yeah, you could also go to the local town, and everything that's included in this is from the town, so it would match what
But
we-
it's what's been filed with the state. So to get more updated, you have to go directly to the town, I imagine.
Yeah, typically they're about 3 to 4 months behind because they have to summarize the data.
Commissioner Randolph?
Just general question. When you calculated the background traffic, did you take into account the new development that's going in, the new medical center?
Correct, yes, we included that, in speaking with the town planner, we identified the other developments in the area, down by the Merit, and we included that in our background traffic, correct?
And I don't have the name of the street, but your exit and entry oppose another street that
Bennington.
Is there going to be any provisions need to be made to coordinate with the entrance to Bennington, or have you taken that into consideration?
No, that is taken into consideration and most likely that's where DOT would want the driveway. They typically like driveways to line up to reduce conflicting movements, especially left turn movements. So that's why we put the driveway opposite it.
What's that? Thank you.
Jim, go quickly.
Oh, sorry.
Your traffic study, can you just, when you did an actual traffic study on?
We did traffic counts, correct?
Yes, and when did they occur?
They occurred October 16th, 2024.
One day,
Makes sense.
and what time? Did the whole day, 12 hours, 24 hours?
Well, for our turning movement counts, we did 7 to 9, 4 to 6, but we also had an ATR, which is, the little rubber tubes across the road up by the site, and that was out for a full week. So that counted 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could look at the
You're-
patterns.
Okay, but so that's a Wednesday. Okay.
The manual counts were Wednesday, the ATR was a week long, so we included both weekday and weekend.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bond, last.
I have a question for the other gentleman that was talking about the environment. I didn't
Well,
get a
let's see
chance
where
to-
they go and keep that in mind for the end.
We're gonna turn it over to Mr. Versteeg was next on our agenda. So Joe, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and
Good evening. My name is Joe Versteeg. I'm an independent consultant in building and fire safety codes, been retained by the applicant in this matter. I'm a Connecticut licensed building official and a Connecticut certified fire marshal. My resume has been provided to the committee along with my March 13th letter. I have reviewed the architectural plans, floor plans, and elevations for this project, as well as the site plans for compliance with the Connecticut State Building Code, Fire Safety Code, and Fire Prevention Code, and found them to be compliant. In my professional opinion, this proposed residential development does not propose an adverse impact on the public safety, health, and welfare. Is there any questions?
Any specific question, Commissioner Ron?
Could you address some of the access questions that were raised in the code review minutes that was done in January by the fire marshal, like number 6, number 7? Some of them look like it will be dealt with later on as opposed to now.
I'm sorry, I don't have that document in front of me. If you could identify them by,
So number
Hold on. Ms. Harrigan, is there a
Number
chance?
6 said, distance from road and elevations are difficult to determine for aerial truck access for
I'll
both
go back to the.
apartment buildings,
Code
provide
review.
the elevation, and you said that will be added later on. Has that been corrected or has the material included an answer to that question? They wanted
yeah,
the,
I think the plans that were presented at that code meeting were very preliminary, and the ones you have before you should resolve all those issues.
you point to which plan answers that? Because it looks like they were going to add it later. Maybe not.
Code review minutes, please.
And then it says the grade. Number 7 says fire department access road when routes appear problematic due to grade and lack of building access. It has to be unobstructed 20 feet. All fire department access roads have to be reinforced to support the weight of heavy apparatus. We did have an answer which said it won't obstruct access.
Right, and those are pretty standard boilerplate items that occur at a code enforcement meeting. You know, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. The roadway is required to be a minimum of 20 feet wide. It is in fact 20 feet wide. During the design of the road, it will certainly be constructed to handle the weight of any fire truck on this imposed loads. Adequate turning radius has been provided. Dead ends have been applied, and there's no dead end over 150 feet. So all aspects of the fire safety code for fire department vehicle access into the site and then maneuverability within the site have been complied with.
And then number 10 said fire lanes shall be approved, clearly marked. You said no fire lanes shown on plans, or that's the answer given. What does that mean?
typically what that means is that in certain areas where the truck may park in front of a building, they'll put a sign that says no parking, fire lane. Typically in a project like this, there's really no need for it.
One last question. This comes up
And
in
it's-
almost every application.
It does.
Oh,
And like
sorry.
I said, it's a boilerplate item that's put in there. I mean, if you look back through the last 50 code meetings on any project, those are just ticks that are put in there, kind of as a reminder that these things have to be addressed.
One last question. We get this in a lot of them, and I do have a little concern that as we keep building these high-rise apartment buildings, we're gonna have a problem with our own fire department being able to handle things. Number one on their list always says, this will increase our workload to include an additional 96 annual inspections. Is that a concern of yours? Because you've been on a few of these. In some instances, the fire marshal told the local people that, you know, we don't have the ability to handle this. Is that a concern of yours as we keep building these high rises, that we won't have the capacity?
Well, first, it doesn't fall within the criteria for being a high rise. So this is a medium rise building. When you say high rise, and I only correct you because when you say high rise, it brings in all kinds of negative connotations and additional code requirements. It doesn't fit that definition. As far as the fire department, that's an internal decision that the fire department has to decide whether they have sufficient manpower, whether they have sufficient coverage, the response times are adequate. That's a careful decision and analysis that's made between town management and the fire department. And it affects budget option requests for more and more people.
One of the buildings appears to be 70 feet tall at the above grade.
Yeah.
Still considered mid-range.
Yeah, the definition of a high rise is there the floor level of the highest occupiable story? Is that more than 75 feet above where the fire truck would park? And the answer is no.
Because it's only about 70 feet.
Well, that's to the roof line. Actually, it's probably 10 feet lower to the floor line. So it's what the occupants on the uppermost floor would stand on.
Okay.
That's the point of measurement.
Thank you.
I think we're good with Mr. Swiftake.
This was the plan. She got all that. But he got it.
All right.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tim Hollister. Here's some wrap-up items. First of all, I think you realize that you had basically the same team that presented Tonksys Avenue to you a couple of weeks ago, and we tried to learn from that. Tried to answer all your questions before you asked them as much as we could, rather than a somewhat basic presentation last time. So I hope that showed off. Mr. Barnhart gave us a memo on March 19th with some comments. The affordability plan, we can accommodate all of his comments and concerns, which we appreciate. In terms of the schedule, this application was received on February 11th. So 65 days takes us out to April 17th. So you have at least 3 more meetings within that timeframe, so we don't need to deal with any extension tonight. Lastly, on my list, anyone correct me if I'm wrong, in terms of additional information, Commissioner Braun asked about building heights relative to Black Rock Turnpike. Commissioner Randolph asked about comparable buildings in town. And then Commissioner Randolph's question to Mr. Pop about the tree survey and the replacement of like-kind sizes. And also get you some additional information about the public transport network in the area. One thing to keep in mind, of course, about bus routes is they are changeable. One can envision that BRT might modify to provide service on Black Rock Turnpike at some point in the future, but that'll depend on construction and population patterns. So I assume you don't want to close the hearing tonight, but or you want to go to the public right now, and so we'll
Go
yield
to
the
the
floor.
public, start there and see where things go. I know, hold on. Question I guess I had quickly, was there public outreach before the applications were filed?
Not a formal, no. Not a formal, and I'll be very candid, with discussions with staff. You have a lot of applications, and we were asked on somewhat short notice to go first, and we did.
Fair enough. Thank you. Commissioner Braun had a question for
Environmental expert.
landscape gentleman or environmental. And this is initial application, so we have time at rebuttal. Initially, so quick question, hopefully then we can get to public.
So I'm sorry, were you a wetland scientist or?
Landscape architect and professional wetland scientist.
Number one, was a wildlife survey done of the property or of any portion of the wetland, wetlands that's in and around the property?
I did not prepare a wildlife survey, but this area, I believe, is outside the DEEP, Natural Diversity Database area, which I could check while it's on my phone shortly.
Why would it be outside of? What do you mean by that?
It's the areas that the DEEP have a map, a natural diversity database map. That highlights the areas where there is special species of special concern, endangered, threatened, and unusual habitats or habitats of high quality. And there's a map for each town, and I could just go on my phone, check it, and I could see if we are within one of their highlighted areas.
So usually I've seen it done where somebody puts the location in and puts a request into the DEP and asks if there are any species of special concern, endangered or threatened species within a certain octagon encompassing that property and maybe a little bit beyond it. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct, but that's the way I believe they used to do it, but they used to get so many requests. So if you're outside of the highlighted area,
Mhm.
they have maps, they don't really want you to request anything because they don't really have any records. And a lot of times too, when you make the request, they'll come back and say that development has no impact or whatever, but they won't tell you what the species is, if it's a plant or if it's a bat or, amphibian.
Okay, well, we
But-
usually get those, but we usually get those specific requests. But anyway, you didn't do a wildlife survey. I'm concerned about the height of the building that's facing the natural areas, which is the wildlife area, I'll call it, whether it's the wetlands or downhill towards Hoyt's Pond, that's all gonna be natural, right? There's nothing being built there. Right?
Correct.
So the height of the building looks like about 6 to 7 stories above grade with windows. Is there any plan to use bird strike safe windows? That's one question.
That I don't know, but I think that those are for bigger windows usually. If you have a office building with a big window, they kind of like a netting over some of those. But we'll find netting for bird strikes, yes.
I mean, inside the glass.
Believe it's on the outside of the glass. And yeah, it didn't seem like it was.
It's part of the glass though, right?
It can be both, I think. So go ahead.
And I guess we didn't have an explanation of the size of the windows. Perhaps somebody would, but we've had applications where the windows, apartment building could be 4 feet by 10 feet or something like that. So I don't know what that is, but I would hope that you would use bird strike windows since it is facing a natural area. And then I have another question about lighting, even though it's dark skies compliant, that does not affect light emanating from the windows on this building that rises 7 stories up or in parts and faces the natural world. Is there a concern about that?
So an area like this usually comes up with the wetland applications. And again, we're outside of that upper review area. So we're fairly far away. And we do have some, evergreens along the perimeter of the development. Some areas I couldn't add the additional evergreens because of the underground infiltration gallery. Maybe we could take.
I'm sorry, what did you say about the underground?
There's underground galleries for detention, stormwater galleries that they talked about, the 4x4 boxes. So you can't put trees over them. So you'll see some gaps where there's no evergreen plantings or there's no plantings and you're wondering why. Because the utilities underground.
So the tree, well, whatever trees are planted, they're not going to go tall enough, most likely, to shield a building that's 60 or 70.
Well, normally spruces will get that tall.
American hemlock, American holly. Eventually they'll get that tall.
And is,
Commissioner Braun, just one or two more questions so we can move on.
can you explain, sort of tabulate the number of trees that are being cut and the number of trees that are being added?
Commissioner, I'll pass that question.
We'll do that,
Give it to
yes.
us.
Oh, we don't have that yet? Okay.
Thank you.
Any more, anything else for your initial presentation?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
So that ends the applicant's initial presentation, part of the hearing. We now will open this up to the hearing to public comments. Members of the public, don't worry. First come, first serve. What we'll do is, once we start, if we can just one at a time come up, give your name and address, keep comments obviously germane to the application. We'll start with people that are in person first, then we'll turn to those who are joining us remotely. We are asking, or somewhat informally, but kind of strong request that presentations from the public be, at least in person, 3 minutes. I have a timer here that I'm going to start to keep and use. If you have written submissions that take longer than the 3 minutes, member of the public can either certainly give presentation now or submits testimony and email to us in writing. People wait. In a lot of ways, seeing a lot of things in writing helps us. We read everything. So I'm going to be keeping time and just being, reminding the members of what the time is. If it goes long, certainly can submit anything else in writing to us after your presentation. So why don't we start with just purple, just kind of coming up, first come, first serve. I saw the gentleman and the two ladies put their hand up first. Just kind of see, if it really starts to get contentious, we'll do a sign up sheet, but I think one person, gentleman, sir, coming up and maybe one or two standing up behind makes sense as far as who's up next. Sir, why don't you take one of those, if you can take that chair and push it back and let the other lady sit. That way we kind of have a non-deck circle.
Do I need to use this?
I think it helps for people in the back.
Okay.
Feel free to stand or sit down.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta stand or sit down, whatever you like, whatever's
Yeah,
comfortable for you. Just your
Uh,
name and address and.
Yeah, sure.
Go.
It's Lynn Rotondo. I live at 25 Barrister Lane, which is Greenfield Hunt, which is a community directly across. And of course, I'm concerned a lot of fronts. But my primary concern, the thing that I had heard discussed tonight fully, I think, is traffic. I'll take back to a little history. Mr. Went probably would remember. I think it's about 10 or 11 years ago. The property, which is directly across from the hotel, a medical group I was familiar with applied for the right to build a building there. It was denied because of traffic. That's my memory, traffic. That building now has been built. So succeeding approval was granted, but it's not occupied. So it can't possibly have been included in the traffic discussion that we heard here tonight. And I think it's going to be a significant one. First of all, the egress and entrance is exactly where the light is. I mean, it's right on the corner. In fact, the corner of that building is the entrance to the Merritt Park. Anyway, I don't have to, it doesn't take a lot of explanation other than that's my concern.
Thank you. You got the right idea.
Macy Schulman, 125 Crickerbrook Lane. My name is Macy Schulman and I reside at 125 Crickerbrook Lane in Fairfield, Connecticut. I am a student at Fairfield University. I have been hearing about the new proposal to build the large apartment building on Black Rock Turnpike, and it worries me. Although I believe that there should be affordable housing, I am concerned about the amount of traffic these buildings will cause. Already, traffic is bad as it is. I got my license 2 years ago, and feel unsafe driving near Black Rock as there are people who are constantly running red lights, speeding and tailgating. My mom and I were involved in a collision right near the proposed building site. The driver was tailgating and rear-ended us. I no longer trust that part of Black Rock, and I have to ask my parents to drive me home from classes. As an environmental studies major, I am very concerned about the light pollution this building will cause. I'm sure you've noticed that this is an increasing problem in Fairfield. Light pollution is very unhealthy. It interferes with human sleep schedules as well as migration patterns for many birds that make Fairfield their home or part of their flight path. Excessive exposure to artificial light at night suppresses melatonin production and interferes with our circadian rhythms, leading to sleep disorders, increased stress levels, and potential contributing to more serious health issues such as depression, anxiety, heart disease, obesity, and even cancer. This 4-story project will stand above and cast its light on much of the surrounding area. I hope that you reconsider approving this project or at least funding a traffic study that is really objective, as well as an unbiased study of environmental and health impact. These are real safety and health issues that we cannot ignore. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask her when her accident was?
What year was your accident?
Last year. It was last year.
2024?
Yeah.
What month? That would not be in the records they submitted then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Elizabeth Viano. I live at 125 Crickerbrook Lane. Before I want to talk about traffic, but before I say that, I just want to mention that listening to the presentation, there's a lot of talk about what it's going to look like off of Black Rock Turnpike, but not about what it's going to look like to us neighbors who live right behind it and who are going to be able to see this from our homes. In May 2019, before the influx of new residents due to the pandemic, the Black Rock Turnpike Safety Study was conducted in the area south of the intersection of Black Rock Turnpike and Congress Streets. This study determined that in a 3-year period, there were 428 crashes on the street. That's 3 times higher than the average similar road in Connecticut. This same study recommended that an additional study be conducted to evaluate the specific area where access to the merit is, Black Rock Turnpike and Congress Street, due to public safety concerns. The proposed building at 4480 is only 0.3 miles from this exact intersection. With the addition of the new medical plaza, traffic will increase even more than it was in 2019, when concerns were already raised. I am asking for this study suggested by the engineers who conducted the 2019 study to be conducted before permits are issued for the proposed apartments at 4480. Adding the 2 apartment buildings at 4480 Black Rock Turnpike is a threat to public safety for those of us who live in the area and those of us who drive Black Rock Turnpike to and from the town of Fairfield for work, shopping, and school. Anyone who lives in the area knows the stretch of the road is given not only to speeding and red light running, but also to street racing, which we hear at night from our house up on Black Rock Turnpike. This is where the street racing is happening. The developer's own study acknowledges that vehicles routinely exceed the posted speed limit. Yet the same study claims 96 new units would barely impact that. A conclusion that strains credibility, especially due to the fact that there is no access to public transportation in the proposed building site. The development would require residents to make dangerous left turns onto Black Rock Turnpike in order to access the Merritt Parkway or town resources, merging onto the street where cars are speeding. Today, I visited the neighborhood Greenfield Hunt right across the street from the proposed building. When making a right turn onto Black Rock Turnpike, I was almost hit by a speeding car. There's a curve in the road that makes that location treacherous because the visibility is limited. I've lived in Fairfield for 6 years and have been involved in 2 accidents on Black Rock Turnpike. One at Congress in Black Rock, the one just a bit down the road. These were my very first car accidents as a driver, and I've had my license for 40 years. Both times I was not at fault. The southbound lane merger creates a documented traffic bottleneck. The Merritt Parkway interchange experiences significant congestion, and it isn't just during rush hour. Traffic is often backed up from the Merritt Parkway off-ramp at Congress and Black Rock Turnpike all the way to Fairfield Woods Road and beyond. I drive it every day, taking my daughter to school at Fairfield University, and I also work there. So I see this every day. This development would aggravate all these existing hazards at the same time, adding 96 more residences, which will feed into an already hazardous intersection where cars exit and enter the Merritt, and traffic jams are an everyday occurrence, is a public safety hazard. I am asking for an independent safety study to be done before 4480 is allowed to progress any further. Thank you for your time.
Chairman,
Yes.
did we get a copy of that traffic study and also find out when her accidents were?
Yeah, I think that's,
I'll get you the dates, but the traffic study is on the internet. It's easy to
I don't know
access.
who authored it. I don't know where to find
It
it.
was sponsored by the town.
We need it in the record if we're gonna look at it.
can you
It
send,
also
can you
shows,
just send an email, attach it to the record, please?
absolutely.
TPZ Commission.
So the accidents, when were your accidents?
I'll get you that. I'll get you the dates. I have to, I'm a little bit
That's fine.
Thank you. Jumbled up.
Sorry.
Black Rock Turnpike.
Yeah, it was,
Safety study.
okay.
Yeah, it's available. I'll post it as part of this folder.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Gordon McKenzie, 11 Palmer Bridge at the Greenfield Hunt property. 60 years ago, there was a very popular movie starring Spencer Tracy. The name of the movie was Bad Day at Black Rock. That is certainly appropriate for tonight. I've written a letter with several pieces of information, but I'm going to focus on something that has not been discussed. That is the construction project for the proposed development. I've got official figures on the cubic yardage that's going to be taken, and that is from the developer, 42,438 cubic yards, of which 2,782 are used at the site for fill as opposed to excavation. That leaves 39,656 cubic yards. I went and did some research on the average size of dump trucks. I took the median size. That will require 3,305 dump truck trips during the construction. We deserve to know how they're going to handle that. There's only 2 lanes going on Black Rock Turnpike. It widens to 3 right and then stops and goes to 2 right at the after the Greenfield Hunt entranceway. I want you to imagine that many dump trucks queued up somewhere doing all this movement of earth and then coming back empty, or sorry, full, and going up there when they're empty. How are they going to manage that? Will that require a flag man who will bring it down to 1 lane during the construction? The second point, that's I think a very key concern, and we need to know what is the exact building plan, and how they're going to manage the traffic around that. It surprises us that the entranceway for this project is exactly opposite the entrance and exit way for Greenfield Hunt. That does not make any sense to me. That is conducive to accidents. And there should be some reason or rationale why they have done that. Perhaps they want to take advantage of the 3-lane width there, but I'm not sure, and I leave that up to your judgment. They have mentioned that they are in contact with the Department of Transportation because, as you know, Black Rock Turnpike is not a town road, it's a state road. They probably have been in touch on the traffic estimate, which again, I believe is too low. But they should also be working with the Department of Transportation on what the impact is of the construction site. And that is part of their mission. So any questions on that?
No, thank you. Anything else you want to submit to us, submit to the record, please feel free. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Roger Schulman, and my family and I live at 125 Crickerbrook Lane. I'm here to express my serious concerns regarding the proposed 96-unit, 6-story apartment complex at 4480 Black Rock Turnpike. I support Connecticut's need for affordable housing, but this project raises significant public health and safety issues. The International Association of Firefighters 2022 analysis of the Fairfield Fire Department reveals deficiencies that would be worsened by this project. A fire at these two 6-story structures would likely require an aerial ladder truck. Fairfield's only ladder truck is stationed at Jennings Road, approximately 11 minutes away, exceeding the 8-minute standard of response maximum. The report states that with current staffing, the department can respond with the minimum 17 firefighters needed for a low hazard alarm to only 28.1% of Fairfield roads within 8 minutes. This development is in an area failing this standard. Local firefighters report being already understaffed. A fire at these structures would require not only every available firefighter, but resources from neighboring towns, depleting protection throughout and beyond Fairfield. Embers could easily spread to the heavily wooded area surrounding the project. If you might think we're not at risk for forest fire, 4 days ago, the entire state was under high risk for forest fire danger. Project abuts an area that lacks adequate fire hydrant infrastructure. That's where we live. Go to Crickerbrook Lane and you'll find that the nearest hydrants are about 1,800 feet away, requiring 12 firefighters just for hose deployment, not for firefighting. Should this project catch fire and the flames spread, all resources will be devoted to those 96 units. The many single-family homes in Hoytons Hill will be in big trouble. I urge the Commission to deny this application based on these public health and safety concerns. At the very least, I strongly request an independent fire safety assessment before any progress is made. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Chairman Noonan, Commissioners. My name is Dave Rock. I am a member of the RTM. I represent District 2. That's the district we're talking about. And I live at 535 Hoytons Hill Road in Fairfield. I just wanted to thank you for all the work you do. I know you have a full slate. My RTM meeting went till almost 1 o'clock last night. I am here in strong opposition to the proposed 96 unit apartment development at 4480 Black Rock Turnpike. I too support affordable housing. I think it's very important, but I'm very aware of the POCD that you all follow. And there's many guidelines in that. Certainly on page 62, it says to preserve and protect the character of existing neighborhoods. You know, obviously this is a AAA zone residential that we're going to flip into, I guess, might be a DRD. I'm not sure of the acronym. I certainly think that the residents that are around this flip, their property values are going to tank. You've got building 2 that has a dog park that a gentleman is going to be looking at from his residential neighborhood house that he bought. And it's only a couple of yards or, 100 yards away. I think it's Mr. McSwain. And he's at 34, I don't know his number, but he's right there. This plan never talked about the right-of-way driveway that goes right through this property. So there's 2 houses in the back that have to go through this property. And all of this construction that's going to happen and all of the water remediation and all of everything that you learned tonight, what's happening to those guys? And what's happening to that driveway that goes right through? And there's a bridge that goes over this property. There's the drainage runoff creek right there that we saw on the right-hand side, but there's a bridge that goes over that. So what happens to the access for these people to get to their neighborhoods and to their houses? This this whole thing is obviously there's BlackRock is quick, and there's traffic, but let's step back for a second. We have an application for 4421, okay? That's gonna go in behind the medical building. That's twice the size of this 96 unit apartment complex. You don't have the traffic for that yet. We don't have the true traffic for the medical building, because that's not operable, but it's gonna be in a couple of months. So add that in. So the Hi-Ho Hotel just applied also for more parking. So they're in the game too. They want to extend their DRD and put spaces in the back of the Hi-Ho. Okay, and then right down the street on Congress, I think it's 1147. They've applied for flipping into a DRD as well. So you've got right in this area, right in this really small area, you've got an explosion. And you could have as many from 600 to 1,000 more families in a matter of 2 years. And it's all on your docket. All of these applications are in, and this is going to be a massive mess. Okay. So I would, you know, when you're thinking of this, please think of it in the context of what's going to happen and how big this thing's going to be. This particular 4480 is an enclave. Okay, there's nowhere to go. The people, they're going to rely on their cars to get anywhere. Okay, so when you're talking about 36 cars in the morning and 38 cars in the evening, that's not happening. Okay, they've got to get out. They've got to use their cars. There's no sidewalks. There's no way to put sidewalks. And if they're going to go south, if they're crazy enough to walk on BlackRock Turnpike, they dead end right where the Merrick goes across. You can't walk as a pedestrian further south. You dead end. You're done. Okay, so there's nowhere for these folks to go. They're in an enclave. Doesn't work. And look, as far as the fire, somebody stole my thunder on the 8 minutes. But I have really big concerns on the ladder truck and how high it goes. And then there's different measurements on the building. I don't think that the ladder is going to be high enough. And if it gets there on time. So I think that's my wrap. I had a whole thing that I was going to say here, but I think I've hit my high points. And please,
If there's anything
Don't do
else,
it.
feel free to submit it to the,
thank you.
to the email, excuse me.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Oh, he's not going?
I think he already,
Oh, okay.
where it went.
sorry. Okay,
Good evening.
hi, everyone. Do I have to push anything?
I don't think so, just up to your,
Okay. My name is Christy Schnelfer and I live at 4580.
put the microphone underneath your mouth, please.
So I can't hear.
I don't know.
Just put it up to your mouth,
Look, your mouth.
right there and speak.
Okay.
There we go.
My name is Christy Schnelfer and I live at 4580 Blackrock Turnpike. And I am a real estate agent.
What?
I'm a real estate
You
agent.
gotta hold it underneath your chin, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
I moved to Blackrock Turnpike in 1978, and at the time that I was moving in, Exxon wanted to build a corporate headquarters across the street. And through lots of litigation that fell through, that was when they changed the AAA zoning to DRD in order to make that happen. Then Greenfield Hunt came in, which is a very nice neighbor. When you were showing pictures of all of the houses, the neighbors, I couldn't see me. And I'm the furthest one back. I just got done with United Illuminating, replacing all of the monopoles in my backyard, which was all treed. And they just finished it in November. It looks like a soccer yard. I see Aquarian is right behind me. They're building, I don't know what they're building, but they're building because I hear trucks beeping up backwards, you know, that sound, or they're beeping all the time. Anyway, my point is 4221 is going to be 204 units. 96 at 4580 Blackrock Turnpike, and at 1477, 39 units. as a real estate agent, I've been seeing these apartments, and it's not exclusive to Fairfield. I mean, you can drive Trumbull, Westport. No one's building single family or condominium properties. And as a real estate agent, I can tell you there is an incredible need for condominiums in this community. People like me who have lived in houses for long times, who are ready to give up the houses and still want a private home. So I could see condominiums going there. I would have less, I mean, you're not gonna get the volume, of course. But all of these developers say, oh, it's affordable housing, but the percentage is so small compared to what all of the other apartments are. And I mean, this is my first meeting. I don't know where I was with all the other ones, but I've got lots and lots of questions. If the traffic report was done in 21, we were in the middle of COVID and people were not driving to work. I will email you some other issues, but from a real estate point of view, this will adversely affect people's properties. I've been through it before.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone, member of the public joining us in person, wish to be heard in this application? Ms. Harrigan, anybody online?
We have two remote speakers.
Sure. So anybody who's joining us remotely, if you can please sign in the chat. Sounds like two have done already.
We have David Starno, followed by Mike Hardigan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to say to Jim Went, congratulations on your retirement. If he's still in the building, I cannot see him.
He's here and he's grateful.
Very good. Thank you for all your years of service. We really appreciate it as citizens of this community. And that's really the problem. This community is changing, and it's changing in ways we never envisioned when we moved here. You know, we've been here 8 years. I'm sorry, I thought I said my address. I'm at 205 Hoydens Hill Road. We've been here for 8 years now, my family and I, and in that time, we've seen a lot of change. And as was just mentioned, the monopoles, they actually added a monopole next to our house, which was not a good thing to have happen. And now we have this coming behind our house, and to the left of our house is the hotel. So we're getting it from all directions. But specifically to this application, we have a lot of concerns regarding safety. And I'll spare a lot of your time because a lot of them have already been mentioned by other people. And it's, only I'll highlight a couple of items. We talked about the traffic. We do not believe, frankly, 36 trips during rush hour in a 96 unit apartment just doesn't make sense to me as an accountant. It doesn't seem right. We would like to have another traffic study done, a nonpartisan traffic study. Also, we talked about the fires, that it is good that they are putting a fire hydrant or proposing a fire hydrant on this application. However, we're worried about how this can take care of us, the other people that are already adversely being affected by this application. It was talked about the response time. I have 2 young kids. It's something that's always in the back of my mind. Finally, I want to commend the applicant for designating this an 830G and trying to help affordable families. This is a real concern in our community. And frankly, I was wondering if the applicant would like to take it a step farther and pledge to donate part of his profits, if this comes through, to charities that help first-time home buyers and other people in need. I don't know if this is a possibility, but I'd like to bring it up with the developer. I thank you for your time. I urge you to consider opposing this development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hardigan?
Hey, you guys got me on audio?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay. Mike Hardigan, 384 Sassapequan Road. I am RTM District 3. I just wanted to say, first of all, I want to echo everything Representative Rock. said and brought up, very much aware of and support of Fairfield's need for affordable housing. And I've heard a lot of good points. One of the things I haven't heard really talked about is the potential for non-point source pollution from areas, even though we're taking into account impervious surfaces and having stormwater runoff galleries. You're taking areas now that have been wooded, and we're going to be putting lawns in a lot of these spaces. And I understand that that's not going to add to stormwater runoff, but there's going to be a lot of treatment in these areas, fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and this has the potential to impact water quality downstream, surface water quality. This particular project is right upstream of Cricker Brook, and then later the Sant Mortar Reservoir. And I just haven't heard anybody discussing what potential impacts to surface water might occur from developments like this. You know, I'd at least like to hear some talk from the developers about maybe committing to phosphorus-free treatments in advance for some of these places. You know, with the way that the seasons have been and the temperature has been seasonally high in the spring and summer, there's been a lot of extra plant growth in the water, and adding phosphorus to that water just drives that plant growth. So I would really like to hear something from the developers about that. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Bruce McDonald.
Mr. McDonald,
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Bruce McDonald, 74 Hamilton Court, Fairfield. I just want to reiterate my concern and my wife's concern. We wrote this in testimony to you. The exit and entrance to this new development being directly across from the Greenfield Hunt. And you could say, well, Greenfield Hunt shouldn't be there, but it's there. It's been there for 20, 30 years. That traffic is going to be a true safety hazard. People speed down that road, as you probably know. And then you add the medical office building and the congestion going on the Merritt. And if you're concerned and the only way you can avoid this is safety, and it's a traffic safety issue, and I think that clearly is what our big concern. I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone?
Nobody else signed up. Okay. Anybody joining us? You can be up next. Just want to see if anybody else is joining us. Anybody else joining us remotely or by phone wish to be heard? If you're joining us by phone, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Pam, come on up. Another announcement of that. Good evening.
I'm Bernadette McSween. I'm at 4466 Black Rock Turnpike in the easement. I just want to echo what this gentleman said. I've lived at 4466 for about 10 years now, and I have attempted to walk on Black Rock maybe twice, once to get to Barcelona, and the other, I actually tried walking down Black Rock, like towards like Trader Joe's. It's impossible. It's dangerous. I have tried to cross a street to go to Greenfield Hunt to take a jog. It is so dangerous. There are so many blind spots, and you are like in that area trapped if you do not have a car. And if people start trying to, walk on that road, especially in that area, it is dangerous. And I just say this from experience. That's it.
Thank you. I'll open it up to everybody. Any member of the public in person, remote, or by phone wish to be heard in the application? Again, if you're joining by phone, please press *6. Mr. Harrigan, do you see anybody else? Sir, come on up. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen from the board. My name is Matt Weber. I live at 4454 Black Rock Turnpike. Hoyt's Pond is on my property. Driving down Black Rock Turnpike over the past year and a half, as Hartford Health has been developing their property, we've all witnessed the lack of sediment control, erosion control during the construction process. They're inadequate. They don't keep up with this stuff, right? 25 years ago, maybe 26 years ago, when Greenfield Hunt was being built, there was inadequate erosion protection during that time. All the sediment ended up in Hoyt's Pond. So, you know, that it resulted in a major project, including dredging the pond. So I'm just concerned about, you know, the lack of, you know, there's sediment fences, there's, you know, these things that go on, but they fall down and nobody's monitoring that stuff. So, you know, what's the process to register complaints? What's, you know, are they going to measure the average depth of the pond before the project and afterwards? I mean, these things have happened before. Are we going to sit there and let them happen again? So the other thing is, you know, right now, the pond is set back from the road. You don't really notice it from the road, but you put 100 units there, people facing the pond looking at it, they're going to be wandering down there. So I didn't see any fence proposed on the property. I didn't see anything that delimited where the property ends. It's an attractive nuisance and it unfairly puts a burden on us. So these are some of the concerns. I think the other concerns that were addressed with the traffic, the fire department, those are all really good concerns as well. There's some individual concerns and we wanted to be on the record for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
May I speak again, please?
If it can be short, please.
It can be very short. I'd just like to echo what he said. We own Delavet Pond, which is the small pond that's directly to the east of Hoyt's Pond. We've had the same problems. There was dredging on those projects as well, from what I understand, although it was before our time there. We've also had people showing up on our property since the monopoles, and I'm have the same concerns. Thank you.
Can you just say your name and address for the record again, please?
David Starno, 205 Hoydens Hill Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Any member of the public joining us in person, by phone or remote, wish to be heard in this application? Final call. I know there were some people that wanted to submit things via email. That can still be done. I'd like that to be done by the end of the week, though, if possible. Attorney Moore, public hearing subject to that, excuse me, public comment subject to that.
Yeah, in fact, we were going to suggest anyway, we have a long list of items that we'd like to respond to, so we were just going to suggest doing that at the next public hearing, so.
Okay, any chance maybe, we got 20 minutes and a lot of stuff in the hopper. Is it worth doing 10 minutes of something? 15 minutes of something?
Joe Versteeg, respond to the latter.
Mr. Versteeg.
So hold on, before I say, I'll end public comment subject to some members of the public wishing to submit further testimony in writing by the end of the week. After that, it won't be submitted to us. Sorry, go ahead, Attorney Moore. Now we're going to rebuttal.
So I would just ask Mr. Versteeg to briefly respond to the fire truck and ladder issues.
I should say, Mr. Versteeg, before you go, our curfew is 10 o'clock. Considering that the applicant's asking for additional time, we'll hit that mark, or probably before that mark. I'd like to go as much as we can because of just how busy we are. Thank you, Mr. Versteeg. Go ahead.
Certainly, for the record, Joe Versteeg. The issue of a fire truck. I think what's important to understand is that the fire code requires that a truck, a fire department vehicle, gain access to the building within 50 feet of a door that gains access into the building. There is no requirement in the code for an aerial truck to respond to a building. And if you have one, there's no requirement for it to be placed at any particular point within the building. Buildings are designed by the building code and the fire safety code that as buildings get taller, the fire protection, passive, meaning fire resistance rated construction, the stairs, the fire resistance rating for the stairs, the building construction, the compartmentation with the building, all increase. And it really lessens the need for accessing the building from the outside with ladders. In fact, sprinklered buildings, there are no requirements that there be windows for rescue and ventilation. That's how effective a sprinkler system is. So firefighters respond to the building, hit the standpipe so they don't have to drag hose up to the upper floors, and then gain access to the upper floors by way of the protected stairways. Having a ladder truck is a benefit, but it's not essential. In fact, the taller the building gets, the less effective a ladder truck is, in that it becomes a toolbox on wheels parked somewhere nearby. Yes.
Harrison.
Is it okay to ask a question?
Go ahead.
I heard early on, and I should have asked this earlier, I apologize, but I don't mean to
Go ahead.
hijack your rebuttal, but with the effect to the hydrant, can you talk about that? Or maybe your expert can, like, I understand that you'll be constructing a hydrant adjacent to the development, like.
I'll call.
I just want to know,
our
yeah.
Engineer,
Thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming up again.
Hi, good evening. Avon Bauer, Casitas Engineering. So the fire hydrant is proposed, it was actually proposed at the request of the fire marshal in a general location that he requested. And the reason that is going to have its own independent water line that comes from the street and only services that hydrant so there won't be any conflict with the water service to the building as well.
It will just service that development? How does that work?
Yeah, he wanted it at the back of the development. So this way he can get as many fire trucks in as possible and have it as close to it's as close to both the buildings as we can get it in a central area. So that it's all completely accessible to them.
Is that usual? Is that something typical that happens?
I've seen it on larger developments where they do request it on site, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Braun.
Before you go.
Sure.
This has to do with non-point source pollution. Could you explain again, is overflow from any of the tanks being directed to the wetland instead of the rain garden? Does anything be directed to the wetland before it goes through the rain garden?
No. Basically, all of our impervious surfaces are directed to either the subsurface drainage or to the rain garden itself.
The overflow from the subsurface drainage, where's that going?
So that overflow, it detains the entire, those systems detain the entire water quality and groundwater recharge volume to eliminate the risk of pollutants getting down gradient.
Sometimes it overflows.
The overflow through a level spreader, which yes, then goes, it's probably a good 80 feet at least over the level spreader down into the wetlands area. And then the rain garden is, I believe, 60 feet, give or take, into the wetlands area.
So the overflow that would come from the closest infiltrator to the wetland, what's the length it goes over land before it enters the wetland?
That's what I was talking about with that 80 feet or so. It would be, not only would it already have been treated in the drainage system, that overflow then gets filtered additionally through the wooded area that we're remaining as a protected buffer to the wetlands.
And the level spreader is partway between where the pipe emerges and the wetland?
Yeah, so basically the level spreader is the overflow for the system. And from there, it goes directly, or it overflows overland into the wetlands.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Randolph.
good question for civil engineer. So a very reasonable question was asked about erosion sedimentation control, safeguards, design. And then also it was highlighted that during the construction of another project approximately 20 years ago, this was an issue that was not properly addressed. Could you broadly address that issue?
Yeah, so I don't know exactly what happened with that previous property, so I can't really speak to
Have the
it.
standards changed since then?
Yeah, they haven't changed in that the technology still exists in the same way, but a lot of the maintenance requirements have changed. Detailed in our plan there's a detailed phasing plan on our, I believe, our sediment erosion control sheet. And that sheet depicts that the first step before they even put a shovel in the ground is to install the sill fence, super sill fence, and as I mentioned, the sediment basins. So the gentleman did have concerns over sediment getting into the ponds. But what those sediment basins do is they're basically a 3-foot deep barrier where all the water that comes off during construction is directed to those basins so that they fill up with sediment. The sediment settles and then the water flows overland. And then additionally, it goes through the sill fence prior to discharging to any downgrading properties or the wetlands. In that phasing plan that we have, those are to be checked monthly at a minimum. and before any significant rain event of greater than a half inch. If there's less than a foot of storage for the sediment to fill, it has to be re-dredged down to at minimum of 3 to 4 feet.
And who assures that the plan is complied with?
It's up to the determination of the contractor, the building department, and the town departments.
The contractor's responsible for it on
The
site.
contractor is responsible for the maintenance, the installation and maintenance, and overseen by any of the town requirements. Thank you very much.
I see we have a few more minutes, so I'll bring
Oh,
up.
please, I mean, it just helps. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I guess, one of the comments brought up was the concern with the driveway opposite, Bennington. Just want to reiterate again, that the driveway proposed will go to Connecticut DOT because it is a state highway for review. And as part of their review, they will go to their toolbox for safety, which includes wanting to have curb cuts on opposite sides of the road lining up to reduce the effects of conflicting turning movements. So based on our experience with DOT and knowing, what they would where the driveway would be located, where they would want it, that's why we've located it opposite Bennington.
All right, and in your professional opinion, that's where it should be.
In my professional opinion, that's the correct location for it.
If it's not there, what would you foresee if it was not directly across?
If it was slightly offset, then you're gonna have conflicting left turn movements in one direction. If it's slightly offset in another direction, then you're gonna have conflicting exiting movements in both directions. But the driveway lined up with each other, each opposing driver will see each other and will be better, better assumption of what that driver in front of them is doing.
Mr. Randolph?
7 of the 12 questions related to traffic of the people who asked. And one of the themes was questioning the trip counts. And so if you could, perhaps not, you can answer this now, but if you could explain the trip counts, whether there was any change due to assumption that people would be walking or taking public transportation. And then explain the basis for your trip counts and then when the traffic counts occurred, because I think there was some conflicting interpretation of when your traffic counts occur based on my notes.
Okay, well, we'll start off with when the traffic counts were done. The traffic counts were done on Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, so a few months ago. Going to the site traffic generation. The site traffic generation that was shown in the table in the report, that's for a 1 hour period. I'm sure most people who go to work, some people leave at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the train station, whereas someone who works locally might leave at 8 o'clock. So you're not having all the residents leaving at one time. It most likely spread over a 3 hour period. The site traffic that is shown is for a 1 hour period, over a 1 hour period. Not, the full commuter peak hour accounting for all the units. So you might have one unit, have one car leave, and maybe one car might leave one of the units that doesn't occur at all during the peak hour. So that's just a better explanation of how the site traffic was calculated and that it focuses just on a 1 hour period.
And so we hear about traffic every meeting we're at, and traffic is it's pretty arcane. Could you explain if there were to be a peer review or another study as which was requested by a couple of people, what they would look at, how they would look at your traffic counts, and what the source of information might be? Because the questions are that the implication is that your review is biased. And could you just talk about how you come up with your traffic counts, with the source of it, and how that relates to the state of Connecticut standards?
Okay, our traffic counts were done by camera, MyoVision. So, what happens is we record, summarize the data. So it's not like years ago where you had the person out there counting with the boards. So it's very, very accurate, the counts. In addition, we did a 7-day count that we compared to verify that we counted on a good day. So a peer review would look at that data. They would also go to the same industry standard ITE trip generation manual, which is what Connecticut DOT would require as part of their review. They would require us to provide site traffic estimates based on ITE for proposed residential development. They would not accept traffic counts at a similar development. They would rely only on ITE as part of their review at Connecticut DOT.
In terms of, was there any adjustment made, assuming there would be use of public transportation or people walking?
No, there was no adjustments for that. Because we're not in an area where we would take any credits for transit or walking. So this is just full unadjusted from ITE.
Also, all right, unless you have something that's 5 minutes, we can probably leave it here. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I will leave this meeting open. Excuse me, leave this hearing open. When will we do that? Is it next week or 2 weeks?
Next week.
All right, we'll be
You
back.
won't be though.
Some of you.
No, I know. Fair point.
You coming?
So we will finish this hearing next week. So the matter remains open, but the meeting for tonight is adjourned.
It's